you can bring that relationship to closure so that it becomes holy, right? Which is free of all chaos, free of all anxiety, all that sort of stuff. So the whole idea that you're waiting to quit your job, you hate your job, this whole thing, and you see it as this cyclical thing, whatever, and 14 years in a 3x3 room with no window to the outside. Well, like to me, that would be juice enough to have the prayer of the heart be absolutely meaningful for the miracle. So, and I know because it's written on the cover of the book, A Course in Miracles, because the miracle is denied, because time and space is denied by that temporal mind, it kind of reads it. You know how you guys, when I say read the 20-minute book and it's kind of like you read it superficially and that you don't really connect with it? That's what happens with the idea of the miracle. So, oh yeah, Course in Miracles, that's good. I wonder what that's about. Not even actually realizing that it's genuinely about miracles. Like literally and genuinely, like totally about miracles, and allowing for those miracles to be facilitated. So he's back the right way up, by the grace of God, not by the grace of Carrie, even though Carrie, in a certain sense, actually is the representation of God on earth pretending to be something else, which is kind of funny. We laugh at that. Together we laugh. But that whole idea of learning to be miracle-minded, it doesn't have to take time. The fear that you're going to encounter on this side of the miracle is like, what if I do have a miracle and my job ends, and then what? There's always that then what, that emptiness, right? And it's like, what am I going to do then? And that's the thing that's preventing you from stepping into that unknown space. It's like you're looking for a guarantee or an assurance, but literally this is a journey of faith. You don't get a guarantee. It's about faith, not guarantees. Faith is its own reward, and when you step into faith actually as it's presented in the opportunities to do so, the reward is on the other side, not on this side. You can't see it from this side. There's this veil, right? There's this illusion of fear and doubt and what about and all of these other things. It's like you got to take the step first. Right? Now, how you reach that point of taking the step first, it's like, where's Colin? It's like going ice swimming. Right? At first you dip a toe. You dip a toe in, oh, that's damn cold. Oh, that's damn cold. But you know somewhere in here that your determination is to get fully into that ice cold water and not have it be anything to you. Right? So you dip a toe and you dip a toe and then you sort of ignore it for a while. You come back and you go, damn, I know I've got to get in there. And then maybe you put your whole thing up to your ankle. Right? But literally the miracle, that leap of faith, once you step, it's like a precipice. Once you step off the precipice, it's all or nothing. You can't regain your footing. So you've got to be determined in here. All right, I'm taking the leap of faith. Fuck it, I've got nothing to lose because I see that the only other alternative I got here is a 6-foot hole in a pine box with my name on it. Right? That's what you got to look at and look at honestly. You've got nothing to lose. Right? Literally nothing to lose. The little kingdom that you think you have now that you absolutely hate and detest, it's keeping you in the perception that you think there's something there to lose, and there isn't, right? Freedom's just another word for nothing left to lose. That's, I forget who that was, Janis Joplin, I think. You know, you've got to be Janis Joplin in your own head, and it's like, well, I'm putting all my cards on the table, win or lose, whatever the hell, and I'm just going to trust in God that everything's going to be fine, and it will be. It may not be what you think it's going to look like, but it'll be perfect. It'll lead you into the next episode, the next room, if you like. I always like to think of things in terms of rooms of association with time and space, where more healing is going to be presented to you as an opportunity and as an option. Right? So you're constantly choosing again. I want to choose for God, for God, for God. I don't know what God is, but I'm told that I can have this thing called faith and trust in the miracle, and that all I've got to do is let go. Right? That letting go is the scary bit. It's like a blind man stepping out off the gutter with his stick, you know, and to cross the road. And nowadays, everyone's got electric vehicles. You can't hear those suckers coming, you know. So you got no choice. It's like, I'm just going to go out, step out here in faith, right? So anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there because that's what I do. That's my thing. Zoe, what's happening? I just want to check in with you because, like, the cathedral thing. Did you go do the cathedral?
I haven't had the time or the money, but I have been praying on it a little bit, so hopefully it'll be able to come around and I'll be able
Does
to do that.
it cost
But
money to go in the cathedral?
no, but I live quite away from like London.
Ah, well, whatever's, if there's a cathedral closer to you, I mean, you can do that.
Yeah, I'll have
But
to.
here's the other thing, right? Here's the other thing. If you think of it as, like the Blues Brothers, and it's like the penguin, the Mother Superior gives them a mission, and it's like, we're on a mission from God, right? If you think of it as a mission from God, you'll be supported by that way of thinking. So
Oh,
right, it'll be part of the whole experience, getting to the cathedral and doing your whole sensory thing there and getting back is also going to be an act of faith. Think of it like a mini pilgrimage.
all
And
right, yeah, that's pretty cool.
I always think it's funny when people tell me how far away everything is in England, because like it's literally a 3 hour drive from coast to coast. Whereas in Australia, you have to drive for 3 days to get to the other side of the country, like literally 3 days, day and night. It's a funny thing. It's so far away. Colin, have you been in the ice?
I was once.
Since I told you?
Yeah.
Good man. Good man. And how did it go?
It went like before when I was trying to go, like everything got in my way.
Right.
But I know that I'm the one that made everything go in my way.
Right. Good. Good.
But eventually I just had enough and I just ran down and got in. The water was only up to like my knees though, so I had to like get down
Good.
in the water. That just made it even worse, honestly. But when you get down, it's like there's this moment where it's just happening, and the only thing you can do is just be in it.
Surrender to it.
Yeah.
That's it. Beautiful. That's the whole thing. I was hoping you'd find a little bit deeper water than that, but it's like, is there people around you like, looking, who's this crazy guy laying down in this puddle?
3 a.m. There was no one around.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. So the whole point of that exercise, right? Because you're young, and like if you look at somebody who's older than me here, anyone, maybe Roger, I don't know, he's no. By the time you get to this, oh, Simmer. So Simmer and I, right, through this avatar, through the Earth experience, let's say, oh, Donna maybe's getting up there with our age. She'll be what, 55 something maybe. And Dana the same, Donna and Dana, the Donna twins. You accumulate this kind of level of experience in the world where you learn about yourself that you can do things if you put your mind to it, right? Which is really an action of will. So, and you're like, yeah, I can do that. You may not want to, but you know that you can. If you had to, you know that you could, right?
Yeah.
When you're younger, you don't have, you have theory that perhaps you could, but you don't have the level or the backing of having had so many experiences that actually prove to you that you could. It's like when people climb a mountain, they do it because they want to know they can do it and that they've got the courage and the whatever it takes to climb a mountain, you know. But so in doing the ice thing, it's exactly what you went through. And I was thinking maybe it'll take you 3 or 4 goes before you actually surrender to it. Well, you did it on the first thing, so that's cool. It's actually really cool because it's that action of surrender that allows all of the effects that you perceive will occur to you, which exist in your mind as potential, to be dispelled, right? Leaving you in an open place where, like you said, there's no choice but to surrender, right? And that's a good thing. So I'm going to leave it with you, right? We'll call it the ice test. Anytime you have a moment of doubt whilst you're doing the workbook, I want you to go down, throw yourself in the ice water, right? Just so you can build up this kind of background self-assurance, I guess, that there is something within you that knows how to let go, because there's going to be moments where you're going to have other stuff to let go as you go through life. Course in Miracles isn't just for a year. It's a whole deal, right? There's going to be other moments that seem to be, because that's the illusion, it presents itself in various ways and forms, seems to be being presented with more dire effects or potential effects, etc., through life, right? People go through cancer and go through all sorts of stuff, and they have to face those things. Being young, and since you've got A Course in Miracles in your hands already at your age, it's like, all right, we've got to really kickstart you in here and like bring you into a realization, because you don't have that background experience of the human journey yet in a comprehensive way. And I've seen a lot of young guys like your age start the course and then get through it and then go on with their lives and just get absolutely smashed around by the world and completely forget that they ever read the course, because it has no literal context to them, not having really suffered or not having really had to find themselves in a great plethora of experiences where the power of their own will was able to support their decision making. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it's like in a certain regard, doing the ice thing, the ice challenge, is like a crash course in believing in yourself, which I know is a little bit Louise L. Hay and all of that sort of thing, but you got to start somewhere, right? So it's the reason that people do pilgrimages and stuff like that. Well, my pilgrimage is going to be my leap of faith. My pilgrimage is going to be me making a total determination in my own bundle, in my own association with myself, about my faith in God, because I feel like I need it, right? I need to bolster my faith. I need to boost my faith. And every time you take a leap of faith, every time you do something that requires faith, right, you'll be supported, and you'll see that support in one of the aspects of your spiritual discipline. It'll show up as like, wow, I really strengthened myself in this, or this really happened, and I actually see that I can believe more in myself about this, that, and the other. And it's not that you're believing in yourself as in a column. It's like you're trusting in something else. You're trusting in, let's call it a higher power or your own spirit to get you through something, right? And it's always going to be that, there's always going to be that moment of confrontation. I used to go, like when I realized, it's hard because I don't really have a clear memory of things anymore. But when I was a bit older than you, and I realized that I was actually on some kind of spiritual journey that was a real thing. It wasn't just books in a shop anymore. It wasn't just talking to people. It was actually starting to affect me in ways that it was doing my head in, like I was going crazy with it. I would leave my car and my wallet and everything at home, and I would travel hundreds of kilometers hitchhiking to go and visit friends, and I would go for like 2 or 3 days or a week or 2 weeks, and I would have no food, no nothing, and I would just trust that wherever I went and whatever happened, I would be fed and I would be looked after, whether I slept in a ditch on the side of the road or a luxury bed, and all of those things happened, and I was fine. Even to the point where, in being willing to take a leap of faith and sometimes I'd be sitting on the highway praying because I couldn't get a lift, right? The one particular one that Tyna with the white Mercedes Benz had picked me up. Like, who would have thought, that I was totally in that instance shown that you get given everything. You get given everything. Jesus leaves nothing out. It's like I take a leap of faith. I leave my house without money, without car, without transport, and I walk for however many miles out to the highway in my determination that this is going to be a journey of faith and I'm going to travel. I think in those days it was almost 200 kilometers to my friend's house. And no one's picking me up because I look like some like sleep in a gully hippie. And I got my thumb out. Every car's going past. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to count 12 more cars, right? And one car's going past every 5 minutes, 4 minutes, whatever. But I'm going to count 12 more cars. If nobody picks me up, and then I'm just going to go home. I'm going to walk home and try and hitch home. Anyway, I get to like 10 cars or something and no one's picking me up. And I'm like, all of a sudden it dawns on me, just pray. So I'm under the shade of this big fig tree and I'm just like, Jesus, I need help. I need a lift. I don't want to go home. I want to continue this journey of faith, right? The 11th car goes past. The 12th car pulls in. It's a brand new white Mercedes convertible with the top down. It's got leather seats, white leather seats. It's got everything. There's a young couple about my age who are very preppy and trendy and whatever, all dressed in white linen and whatever. They're wearing like really nice clothes in the front. And I sit in the back. They let me in. They like, where are you going? And I'm like, I'm going to Byron Bay to visit my friends. We'll take you there, they said. And they took me all the way right to the front door, And I'm like, it was the most incredible conversation as well. But it's like in that neck of the woods, there's never a white Mercedes Benz. I think it just manifested out of the ether to pick me up because I asked God for a chariot. That's what I'm honestly thinking. That part of the woods, there's like farm trucks, builders, wagons and shit like that, so it was just like, but it's the willingness to actually step out of the comfort zone, step out of familiar surroundings without a back door, without support, without all the usual things that if I get in trouble, I can rely on to get me out of trouble, right? Because God is going to be what I'm relying on. That's my journey of faith. That's my pilgrimage. That's my experiment with faith. And that whole idea of believing in yourself is implicit in the idea of faith as well, because you wouldn't do anything if you didn't believe in yourself, right? You wouldn't get out of bed in the morning. You'd be this sort of like, but somewhere within you is this spark. There's this spark of truth that burns and burns and burns. And when you start this process of self-analysis, like when you start to question your reality, it burns brighter. It's like, hey, over here, you want to question reality? Check this out. Right? And you start to feel something. It's like, I feel like I need to read this book. I feel like I need to go and talk to that person. I don't know why. I just, and you're drawn. It's like the heart calls you rather than the head. You feel like this calling of the heart and you can't explain it. Like it's impossible to explain. You just end up like Tyna walks out of the grocery store and there's a Jamaican guy that just bugs her for, who the hell are you? Like he wants to know who she is. I don't know if he's like trying to ask her out on a date or nothing, but like, the whole thing is energetics, right? Everything's energy. I was walking back from the car mechanic this morning where I just left the car in the driveway and I'm walking back and I can hear it's like a rainforest. Part of the walk is through this thick forest, right? And there's a trail that goes through. And I'm walking and I can hear somebody walking behind me, like catching up to me. And the path is fairly narrow. And I'm just walking. And this guy walks past me and I say, good morning. And he turns around on the path like he's doing a full 360, turns around on the path and looks at me and he's got this massive grin on his face. It's like he just won the lottery, and he goes, good morning, like that, and keeps walking. And I'm totally lifted. I'm totally lifted in joy just by that one simple connection there on that path in the middle of the forest. It didn't mean anything. It doesn't have to mean anything. It was just a moment, I could have not said anything. I could have been walking with my head down. Oh, fuck, it's a long way. but I'm consciously connecting with my environment. I'm consciously connecting with the trees, how beautiful it is, the rainforest, there's somebody coming up behind me. Isn't that exciting? Like totally connecting with the experience I'm in rather than taking it for granted, right? And it's the whole difference between being selfish or introverted and being selfless or extroverted, right? It's not that one's better or worse than another, but you get the results of your thinking either way. Glass half full, glass half empty. You will get the results of your own thinking. So believing in yourself is a form of glass half full. I can do that, even if you've never done it before, right? I can do that. You just have to have this sort of sense of self-assuredness. So when you go swimming in the ice and you've done it, you're like, holy shit, I did that. That was like minus 25. So the next time something comes along that you think's in your face, you'll be like, no, I can do that, right? Even if it leads you into a place where you end up needing a miracle, right? Because quite often, all these experiments with faith, and if you're doing it right, it should lead you into trouble. It should lead you into awkwardness, and it should lead you into a direct confrontation with your own limitation. Because otherwise, what the heck needs healing, right? This is a journey into fear. It's like, oh yeah, I'm going to serve God. That'll be fun, because we all like the idea of God as being, oh, you know. But where does it lead you? Oh, it leads me into opportunities to heal. What does that look like? It looks like shit, actually. It looks terrible. I don't really enjoy it. But you enjoy the release, right? You enjoy the release and you enjoy the actual connection and the sense of connection you get. And it's like, holy, I was asking for a miracle. Something happened. Everything worked out fine, right? Initially, you're completely happy that everything worked out fine. And then usually a little bit down the track, you're like, shit, man, I prayed and it worked out fine. That means God's real. Damn, now what do I do? I can't just go back to pretending God's not real, or God's a possibility, or God's maybe there is, or maybe there isn't a God. It's like, I prayed, everything turned out fine. Maybe it's just a coincidence. You know, maybe it's just a coincidence. I'll take another leap of faith. I'll do something else. And you kind of become a faith junkie. You get addicted to it. It's like you want to find yourself. You start wanting to find yourselves in these awkward situations, right? At which point you realize that you're running your own show rather than allowing yourself to be guided, you know, and you get yourself into more trouble. But it all works. Everything works for the construct. Everything works for the miracle. It doesn't matter how far down you get down that hole of, you know, being all fucked up. The miracle's still there, right? You've still got access to it because you're entitled to miracles because you're a child of God. You're not the body. Hey, Deb. Up there in the top corner of my screen. So like literally, like when Jesus says in the Bible, unless a man lives by faith alone, he shall not enter the kingdom of heaven, right? Think about that. Unless you live by faith alone, faith, that's it. Not hope. Forget about hope. Abandon all hope, all ye who enter here, right? Forget about hope. There's nothing worse than that because God's promise can't fail you. So why would you have hope? Oh, I hope God's promise doesn't fail me. Well, that's the denial that God's promise is omnipotent and that you're entitled to it. Hope puts up a barrier. You know, forget about hope. All right? But faith, that's a whole thing because that's me divesting myself of my old ways of coping, managing, looking after myself, and just stepping into the unknown. Because you got nothing to lose. Literally nothing to lose. And everything, like you said, everything's going to get in your way to try and stop you because the ego is like, it wants you to listen to its solutions. You don't have to go ice swimming, Colin. You can just say you did. You know, you can tell yourself that ice swimming's not as important as, you know, but like literally everything that comes to you is for your salvation. You know, so all of these things, the ego will try and stop you. It'll lie to you. It'll deceive you. It'll present physical obstacles, right? And these are all part of the old determination, the old script, the old story of I want an experience of being separate from God. And that's the background program that's running back here, which is why you have to journey into fear to remove those blocks to kind of like turn it off. Right? At a certain point, the program starts to work for you. Like in AA, I love they have a saying, right? Work the program until it works you, right? Retrain your mind until your mind catches on. It's like, aha, I see what you're trying to do. I'll do that for you, right? It's like training a puppy. You have to teach the puppy again and again and again and again. And eventually the puppy gets what you're trying to get it to do, and it does it automatically, right? Especially if it gets a pat and a biscuit and, you know, all of that sort of stuff, in which in our case, the pat and the biscuit is the realization that God actually is true. God exists, you know. It's the big pat and the big biscuit. So, which is cool. So at a certain point, and you'll realize that you'll be like, holy crap, I just had a judgment and it was dispelled automatically in my thinking without me even having to sit down and apply my Course in Miracles principles. How did that happen? And I literally remember the first time that happened to me, where I was judging something, and then all of a sudden it flipped in my mind, and I didn't even stop to think, oh, hang on, that's a judgment. I need to forgive. I need to let that go. It just did it automatically. And it's like, whoa, it was a huge thing. It was like somebody else was in control. It was still me, but it was like somebody else was in control. Something else was now happening. And it's been that way ever since. You know, it's like rolling a heavy rock up a hill, and you get to the top, and finally it goes down the other side all by itself, right? And once you get, it's like when Jesus says the path is steep and hard and there's few found on there. But like the path eventually has to end somewhere. Right? You have this arrival point where you've mastered this state of inner peace. You've mastered how to bring yourself back to a peaceful state from a toxic state of total grievance. My total grievance is with God, right? It's like, holy shit. All I need to do is accept in the fullness of that acceptance that my grievance is against God, which is self, right? I hate myself, right? And then all of a sudden it's downhill from there. But nobody ever really initially wants to believe they hate themselves. Most people like to think, oh, well, I've probably got a few rough edges that I could polish up and, you know, whatever. But generally I'm a pretty nice person. It's like, welcome to the graveyard. All the dead things here. It's like whatever it is that I associate with in the world, it's me. All the anger, all the hatred, all the suffering, all the pain. Because self, true self, in the dream, beyond the dream, whatever, is not limited to this little idea of myself as this physical facade, the physical body. It's everything. It's all encompassing, right? As above, so below. It's a whole experience of self. The mountains are what I am. The trees are what I am. But I get to view it all through this little peepholes, you know, of eyes and touch and senses that seems to be at first glance all there is to it. Right? But it's not. That's a deception. Once you start to tap in, once you start to forgive and you start to get a sense that you're supported by a higher power, you start to realize that it's not you're supported by a higher power, but that you are one with that higher power. Like it's what you are. It's the whole thing. Right? And it's hard to talk about it because like it goes beyond what our language is capable of expressing, but we kind of allude to it. We have concepts and ideas, which is the Course is full of concepts, right? But those concepts embody principles. All of the words you read in the Course, they embody the principle of forgiveness, the principle of letting go, the principle of release. Right? And that's the one thing the ego does not want to do. It wants to hold on and control you. Right? The one thing you're scared of is to be totally free. The one thing I'm scared of is to be totally free. Right? At certain points in my life, I've realized and consciously realized and made decisions to just dump everything and go, right? The doorway to go and do something else has been presented, or it seems to be open, And it's like the most recent one of those is just like giving my business to my work colleagues and just leaving, just walking out, literally just here, you guys deal with this. I'm gone. I'm out, and leaving it all behind, right? I could have sat there and ruminated in my thinking, oh, I could probably sell my business for $50,000 or $60,000 and put it on the market and, get a broker to take care of it, whatever. But it's like, that's keeping me, like, what about? It's like there's a point you just want to trust. There's a point you just want to trust. And it's like, no, this is not about accumulation of possessions, of popularity, of wealth, of anything like that. It's got nothing to do with it. It's about building my relationship with love, with self-love. And to do that, I have to believe in myself. Believing in myself is believing in my higher self, believing in my good, that I will be supported. That's the journey. And you've got about sort of 50 to 80 to maybe 100 years to sort of really look at it and make a decision about it. Otherwise, you're going to be existing and not living. And I have many people say to me, oh, I feel like I'm just existing. I've got all these, I've set my nest egg up so well, I'm completely supported, everything, but I don't feel alive, right? Because basically what you've built is a tomb. And I'm not saying don't have a nice house, don't have a job, don't do all of that stuff. But there's going to be moments that come along where you get feelings. There's going to be moments that come along where you feel like, all right, I need a change in my life, right? I need something else to happen. I'm telling myself I'm on a journey of awakening. I'm telling myself that this is what I want to be about. But yet I'm terrified to make a choice. I'm terrified to make a decision when it seems to be that that's the decision that I want to make, like Carrie. And it's not good or bad. I've had many times of looking at the same decision again and again before I finally go, fuck it, I'm doing it, and then just make that decision and just no regrets, whatever it is, no regrets. Cards on the table, you just walk out, right? And I've always been supported. And not only that, but like the white Mercedes-Benz, I've always been supported exponentially, more than I could have possibly ever imagined. I know I've had several moments, profound moments in my experience with the course and with the application of the principles of the course, where I have been sat on my ass by life in the biggest wow of the universe that you can ever imagine. It's like, holy crap, look at my life. I'm alive. Stuff is happening. This is actually what living is like having these moments of spontaneous, just uncontrolled letting go that allows other stuff to happen that you could never have even dreamed of. You meet people, you just get taken down other whole things. And it's like, even though the world is an illusion, the whole journey's not real in its entirety. It's like the coming to the realization and the awakening from it and recognizing what it is as denial. That part of it's not nice, but the expose of it is, wow. I couldn't have asked for more in my life. If you'd have said to me, would you like to win well, maybe I would, $100 million, but like it's not going to get you anything more than, and the exponential nature of it is you get God thrown into the mix. Finally, I remember what I am. Finally, I have this truth within me, which is so blazing and radiant that I can't deny it, wouldn't want to deny it, and it becomes what I am, like literally the Christ incarnate. And I know that sounds like a big thing, and some, oh, that's blasphemy, you can't say that. But it's like, it's no big deal. It's what we all are. It's just natural. It's like, well, what else would you be? You're part of God. It's not like da-da-da-da-da-da. And I always say, like, the funny thing that, like when you go to India, anyone who's had an awakening, they're usually revered and they have garlands of flowers draped on them and followers and all of this sort of worshipfulness and everything. All they've done is remember who they are. It's not anything amazing. It's just part of a sequence of natural events that occurs to everybody because it already has occurred somewhere in your mind where you suddenly remember that you're a child of God. And that's an experiential remembering, not a conceptual one. Right? Salvation is beyond the concepts. right? But the concepts lead you to it. The concepts embody the principles lead you to the awakening, to the realization, right? And you kind of have these moments of faith where you're like, holy crap, I was supported. And then I was supported again. And then I was supported again. And eventually what that does, it gets so in your heart space that you can't stand the idea of knowing that you're completely supported by God, but not know what God is. And you kind of collapse into this dark night of the soul where for a second you go through that maximal moment of terror and find yourself suddenly on the other side before you went in. Right? It's like a black hole. At the precipice of a black hole, gravity is pulling you in faster than the speed of light. So by the time you're in the black hole, you're actually watching yourself go in and you're actually out the other side before you enter. Right? It's bizarre. It's a mind fuck. You can't really work it out. But the actual experience of your illumination, it happens before you realize it's happening. Jesus says in the twinkling of an eye. I would say it's even quicker than that. By the moment you start to realize how terrifying it is, it's done. You know? But yet if you're dipping a toe, if you're approaching that ultimate precipice and you're testing the waters and testing the waters and testing the waters, all you're going to be doing is building up that sense of how terrifying it is and making it worse for yourself in your own mind, right? Which is why a leap of faith is a leap. You just do it. All right, I'm just doing this. I see that I'm sick of looking at it. I'm sick of playing this game. I'm sick of bloody my mind games about it, telling myself I'll do it one day, procrastinating, whatever. And you just do it and let the cards fall where they may, right? Now, if you do it with the Holy Spirit, the cards are going to fall in your favor. Everything's always in your favor, right? Everything works for your good. Isn't that right, Cam? Right? There's no lack in love. There's only an idea that I think there can be a lack in love, and I can focus on that, like that song from The Police. My teacher Ted used to love that song. There's a little black spot on the sun today. Rather than enjoying the warmth of the sun, you're focusing on the little black spot. It's like, stop focusing on the little black spot. Just enjoy the whole damn thing. Hey, Anna. Oh, there she is in it. I watched your video. It's lovely. Thank you. I totally enjoy it. Some of you guys, Tina's making videos too, I believe, but nobody sends me the links. I just discover them by accident. But, it's like I'm scrolling. It's totally heartwarming to know that all this mutual participation is resulting in this stepping up and this kind of like being about itness. I know it takes a while for that to occur. It took me quite some years before I suddenly realized I had to actually, in a certain sense, a formal sense, be about it, but anyway, it's very cool. Thank you. Thanks to God for you and you, Tina. And everyone else who's helping. So today, let me just check. Donna and Dana, they're good. Zoe's good. Alexi, you good?
I'm good.
All right. Owen, I know Owen's good. Owen the impatient. It's like your name in salvation. It's good to have that sense of impatience, though. It's like you really want to be always further ahead than where you're at. You see the potential in like healing whatever conscious denial that you might have within you. But quite a lot of the time, like I said to Colin, quite a lot of the time when you're young, you haven't yet been through a lot of the sequential orchestration of stuff that reveals to you what that even is going to look like in your life. So just deal with things where you find them right here and now and allow that to be enough. Like I think it was Peter who said the evil of the day is sufficient, like just deal with it one day at a time and you'll find before you know it, you'll be 65 years old in the form and you'll be looking back on it going, man, that was a hell of a ride. So today I want to do the first 7 reviews. Tina, can you, the little reviews of the first 50 that we usually do, well, I don't think we ever get through the full 50,
Nope.
but I just want to do
Never
the
do.
first 7,
Mm-hmm.
right? Since we're within that first week of the new year. Tomorrow's the 7th here. I don't know what day you've got there.
We're on the 5th day. Ooh.
So I'm actually ahead of you guys by a day, and I always think it's the other way. I'm behind you by a day.
I know. Up your head.
I get
So the
to
full
see
lesson,
the
right?
first.
So we're not doing the reviews
just,
in the full lesson.
just the reviews, but the first 7 reviews.
Okay.
We'll just keep it short.
Oh, okay.
Where's the bicycle these days, Roger? Have you parked it up?
No, I've been riding a bit. I've slacked off. It's been hot here. Sort of, it's unfinished business. I want to get back to maybe September to try again when it's a bit cooler. It was just so damn hot. The flies are driving me crazy. And conflicting goals of I want to finish the course. And yeah,
Right.
one's in mind training, one's body training, just conflicting.
Right. So the idea of mind training then has to allowing that relationship with the body and that.
Well, I mean,
sense
as the
of
course
training the
says,
body when you give your life and will. Is that what? When you give your life and will to God completely, it's like to the Holy Spirit completely, the body becomes a perfectly healthy and functional tool for the use. You know?
Yeah.
So I have a bicycle as well, actually, and I'd ride it around every now and again because, like, literally there's nothing else to do here during the day. I live on the top of a mountain, so I have a few entertainments, I suppose, but otherwise I'm mostly still. But going through that process, it's like I remember the desert. I remember the flies, right, in Alice Springs and Kings Canyon and all of those places where I'm all day, every day. But looking like with Colin, where is he looking at an opportunity for miracle mindedness? Right, so next time you go, you'll probably encounter flies again, or you'll encounter something else that's going to be an obstacle, or seem to be an obstacle to want to prevent you from doing what it is that you've said you want to do. Right? All things with God are possible, inclusive of the flies. Right? Now that's
when I
going
got
to take.
home, when I got home, I thought about it. Thought maybe I could think of it another way, and the flies are God's blessing to me, drinking from the water from my eyes, but I'm not there yet.
All right, so see what you're doing there? You're trying to figure it out, right? You're trying to figure out what the flies could be rather than just letting them be miraculous.
Yeah.
Right? The flies are an opportunity for you to learn to become more miracle-minded, right? When I was on the top of the mountain, I spent the night up there and it was raining and there was nowhere to hide. I was freezing cold, soaking wet, and there was just clouds, and it was the worst decision I made in my life. It seemed to be at that time. I prayed and prayed and prayed. I prayed for a big wind to come and blow all the clouds away so that I wouldn't be wet all night. And then I fell asleep and a big wind did come, and I was still damp, but it stopped raining and it was a starry night, right? A beautiful starry night. Coincidence, maybe? I doubt it, knowing what I know now. But the flies are the same thing. The flies are the rain, right? An opportunity for prayer, right?
Yeah.
Prayer, you got to really think. Prayer is powerful. The miracle touches everything. Everything. There is nothing excluded. Tina has the miracle of the rats, where she was plagued by rats, and she prayed and prayed and prayed. The rats are gone. Somebody even cemented over the hole where without her asking them to do it, where the rats were coming out of. The rats had to go find somewhere else to do their shit, right? Flies are no different. But in the mind, it's like, oh, flies. How am I going to get rid of flies? How am I going to stop these flies, you know? And it's like when I was traveling across the desert with the guys and we were doing outreach and we got a flat tire and I went to change it and the spare tire was flat. And I'm like, oh man, we're in the middle of nowhere. And there was like this rise going up. And I thought, I'm just going to walk up to the top of that rise and see what I can see, because this is before mobile phones, you know, and like cars are coming along the Nullarbor in those days every couple of hours, and it's freaking hot. I walk up to the top of the rise, and literally 100 meters down the other side, there's a tire shop in the middle of the desert, right? A big tire shop. And it's like, it was also a general store, post office, and everything else. But the main thing of that place was tires. And I'm like, a lot of people must do their tires along this strip of road, you know, like somebody's built a damn tire shop here. And I was trying to rationalize why there would be a tire shop in the middle of the desert. And it's like, well, of course there is, because I'm totally supported, right? And the guys gave me tires for a really good price. They dropped me back to my car and, like, you know, the whole thing, or went and picked the car up and dropped the car up there, got the tire, and we got going again, you know. It was amazing. You could say it was a miracle. But it's like that whole journey was devoted to miracle. We called it the miracle tour. And we did like 5,000 kilometers in the van there and 5,000 kilometers back, just less than, we came back through the middle, you know, and came the other way. But we called that the miracle tour. And so many things happened on that tour because it was dedicated to representing the universal curriculum. The whole energy of it was just on spec, right? Even though the three of us were kind of new at it all and we didn't really know what we were doing, and we were just sort of making it up as we went along and trying to convince ourselves that we were being miracle-minded, and, you know, but ultimately we'd had all these sort of waypoint moments on the journey where the miracles did occur. And stuff was just like unexpected. It's like, who would have thought? We've got two flat tires in the middle of nowhere and there's a tire shop on the other side of the hill, you know? So flies, to me, flies are no drama. The flies, the heat, the whatever it is, that's not an obstacle. That's my mind trying to convince me that it's an obstacle. But God is all powerful, right? I guarantee you the prayer of the heart for the healing of the mind that insists on having obstacles, allowing that to be miraculous, would get rid of the flies. Right? There would be no flies. Right? And I know that for a fact because I've stood on a beach where it was pouring down rain all around me and I didn't get wet. Right? Now, if God can create a little space around me when I'm doing my satsang on video on the beach so I don't get saturated on camera, right? And I've got a 10-meter perfect circle. And now when I think about it, I think maybe there was a UFO above me and it was like an umbrella. I don't know. I've got no idea. But I didn't get wet, right? And even in the video, Tina's got the video, it was bucketing down, cats and dogs all around. I even walked over to the edge of the circle with my video camera and I'm like, look at this. And there's a perfect circle around me, right? How does that happen? It's like that scene in the Truman Show where he jumps to the left and the rain follows him, and then he jumps to the right and the rain follows him. It's like, it was like that, but without the rain. You know? Now, if God can do that because I'm in his service and he supports me, what else can he do? I'm pretty sure a few flies aren't going to be a problem. But it's going to take for that miracle mindedness, not trying to work out what you think the miracle should look like, right? Just leave that part to God. Leave that part to Jesus. I just need a miracle. I don't want to put any terms and conditions on it. I don't want to try and decide how I think I would like the miracle to look. I just need a miracle. I'm going to leave that space open, right? And then I'm going to walk into that space with all my lumps and bumps, with all my faults and all my things about myself that I think, and I'm going to be proven wrong about everything and allow myself to come out with a whole new perception of myself on the other side of it as supported, right? Supported in faith. And that'll be fun. You know, that'll be heaps fun. All right, Tina, read the first one, please. And then I want Zoe to read the second one. Where is she? She's still here? Yep, there.
Okay.
Oh. Yeah.
Oh man.
Good. Always teaching.
Oh, nothing. Oh,
Yeah.
nothing. Nothing I see. Nothing I see means anything. The reason this is so is that I see nothing. And nothing has no meaning. It is necessary that I recognize this, that I may learn that I may learn to see what I think I see now is taking the place of vision. I must let it go by realizing that it has no meaning, so that vision may take its place.
Good. Including the flies. Doesn't mean anything. That doesn't mean that I haven't already given the flies a meaning and getting the results of the meaning that I've given it. But it means that my meaning doesn't mean anything. Zoe, do the second one, please. And then Anna.
Yeah.
Good. Zoe, close your eyes and just take a few deep breaths before you read it.
I have given what I see all the meaning it has for me. I have judged everything I look upon, and it is this and only this this is not vision. It is merely an illusion of reality, because my judgments have been made quite apart from reality. I am willing to recognize the lack of validity in my judgments, because I want to see. My judgments have hurt me, and I do not want to see according to them.
Good. That's good. It's funny when you read stuff. I'm getting a reverb on somebody's mic on. Just turn your microphone off for a second, Zoe. I think that's coming back through yours. Or Anna's. When you read stuff, it's like there is this vast span. I think I've told you about this before. It's like I don't even know how to talk about it. I won't talk about it. Like different guys, when some guys read things, like when I was at the healing center, people would read things and I don't know if it's because I have this kind of left artistic sort of brain where I hear things, if somebody talks to me about mathematics or anything logical, I just don't get it, right? I'm just stupid. I just don't get it. But if people talk to me about poetry or talk to me in sort of pictorial sort of expression, it's like I see it, right? It's like I can see it. I can see my thoughts about it. It's as clear as day. And when people talk like that, I see a frequency. I see a sound wave or something. I don't know how to describe it. You know how people say, "Oh, I see auras and I see this and I see that." It's like I think it's my version of what that is, but I don't know how to describe it. I've never read a book about it, and I've had no one to talk about it with. I'm just trying to work it out as I go along. And it's only since we've been doing these satsangs really that I'm paying more attention to it over the last year or two. But when you read, your aura goes, it's like an idea of time almost. It goes way the frig back, like way back. Most people, when I talk to them, there's this sort of current up-to-date sort of time, space, location of knowing that person or something. And it's like how I sort of describe it. Yours goes like back to the beginning of time. Somehow, I don't know. I just say I don't really, but it's just like I love listening to you read, not because of the reading, but because of where I go in my mind with it. It's like, holy crap, this is different. When Tyna reads, Tina's cutting edge, right? She's like right here with me reading. When you read, it's like you're reading to me from right back a million years ago or something. I don't know. Everybody plays an energetic part, right? So you have the idea of Jesus had 12 disciples, right? Those 12 disciples, he handpicked them. Right? Can you imagine how perceptive Jesus was, right? He's like a pure mind, just totally doing his thing. He would have walked up to you, like even when that woman who was menstruating for 12 years or whatever, and she touched his robe in a huge crowd, he damn well knew, who touched my robe? Everybody's touching him. Everybody's like loving on Jesus, and this woman on the ground touches his robe. Who touched my robe? He picks up on the most subtlest shit, just like totally subtle stuff. And it's like, if you didn't know what the context of that whole thing is, you'd be like, how did he even know? How did he know that woman touched his robe? And he felt the spirit go out of him, right? I don't know. When he says, I felt the spirit go out of me, I know what he means, but I don't associate with it in a way that makes sense to me as my own experience. But when you read, that's kind of what I feel. I feel like something goes way back. It would have to be the spirit because everything's spirit, but I really don't know how to talk about it. You know, I'm not as clued in as Jesus, obviously, and each of us will have our own periods of going through the phenomena and the particulars of. I've met people who've been doing the course, and all of a sudden they're full blown clairvoyants. They can tell you stuff about yourself that's like, holy crap, I've never said that to anybody. You know, I remember once Ted met this woman, and he talked about her in session for like 2 or 3 sessions where she opened the course, read like 1 page, and suddenly she was having direct dialogues with Jesus, like Helen Schuckman, you know, and she sort of vanished from the association with Ted, and she's in America somewhere, does her own thing, but she's directly channeled, read 1 page. You know, you never know how anything's going to affect you. You never know what, like it talks in the Bible about the gifts of the Spirit. You never know what they're going to be. And I think my gift is that I'm able to sort of somehow disseminate the experience I've had through the principles and the concepts of the course to make it relatable to other people. And people often tell me, oh man, I really hear you clearly when you talk about this stuff, right? And I know that I've had teachers like Gregory, Tyna. Gregory's one of those teachers that when he talks about stuff, I hear it from him like crystal clear, right? He talks about it beautiful. He's artistic speak. He talks in art speak. My brain just goes, oh, I could love this guy up forever, right? I hear it from him. Whereas my actual own teacher, Ted, who I was sent to, I had great difficulty hearing it from him. I had to really focus and pay attention, right? I knew he was saying the same thing, but his energetic was different, right? Zoe, your energetic is different. It's totally different. I don't know how. I don't know where that relates to anything other than atonement and keeping my nose here. But like if I was going to live for another 50 years, I'd be hanging around you to see what's, you know. I have a feeling you're going to become a very, very powerful healer later in life. I don't know why I get that sense, but
I sure hope so.
No, I'm pretty certain of it. I mean, you're not here for no reason. So, all right, Anna, where are we at? Let's have it. England needs healers. There.
I do not understand anything I see.
Including Zoe.
How could I understand what I see when I have judged it a mess? What I see is the projection of my own errors of thought. I do not understand what I see because it is not understandable. There is no sense in trying to understand it. but there is every reason to let it go and make room and make room for what can be seen and understood and loved. I can exchange what I see now for this merely by being willing to do so. Is not this a better choice than the one I made before?
You have to answer that question. It's not a rhetorical question. This course is practical. All right, kill that microphone. That's where the feedback's coming from.
Gotcha.
Sean,
Trying.
number 4, please. Yes.
These thoughts do not mean anything. The thoughts of which I am aware do not mean anything because I am trying to think without God. What I call my thoughts are not my real thoughts. My real thoughts are the thoughts I think with God. I am not aware of them because I have made my thoughts to take their place. I am willing to recognize that my thoughts do not mean anything and to let them go. I choose to have them be replaced by what they were intended to replace. My thoughts are meaningless, but all creation lies in the thoughts I think with God.
Read that last sentence again.
My thoughts are meaningless, but all creation lies in the thoughts I think with God.
Close your eyes. Say that last line from memory.
My thoughts are meaningless.
Open your eyes and read it again.
My thoughts are meaningless, but all creation lies in the thoughts I think with God.
Now close your eyes and read it from memory.
My thoughts are meaningless. But all creation lies in the thoughts that I think with God.
Good. That's how you're to read every line in the book. As if there's a purpose to it. So that it gets in. You know what RAM memory is on a computer? Random access memory, RAM. It's kind of an old term now. RAM is the capacity of memory that a computer has to be able to recall the recent activity that it's been processing. And I don't know how I know that. I'm not a computer person. You also, as a mind, hey Barry, you also as mind have recall to what it is that you're processing because your own process has relevance, right? If it had no relevance to you, the workbook would be pointless. What's the point of it? But there is a capacity within you to become aware and to become vigilant for the activity of healing in your mind in a way where it's relevant to what it is you're doing with the workbook. All right. And I'm just going to call that random access memory. But you have to activate that memory. It's like cramming for an exam at school. You've got to really let it in there, like it's got to be purposeful that you're reading it. Otherwise, it's gone. It doesn't go into that random access memory. It's just superficial on the surface. All right. And I know I've mentioned this kind of thing to you before in a different context, but we're going to go deeper with it. And over the coming months, perhaps, or whatever the span of time is that this particular association in you is going to play out as, we're going to go deeper and deeper and deeper with it, because I know that's what you want. All right. So focus on it. Focus on what you're doing in your own mind, in your own consciousness when you're reading these lessons, and just be aware that your ego is always there. Okay. Ego is always there. It's like mud in the water. You got 100 liters of water and you got a teaspoon of mud. When you drop it in, you'll see the mud as a dollop in the water, but it dissipates, right? Eventually you sort of think, oh, I can't see the mud. There's probably no mud. It's still there. You just can't see it, right? So part of the whole mind training that was helpful for me is learning not to trust myself. All right. I trust in God, not in Dave. And that includes when I'm reading the lessons. I trust in God, but I've got to give God my full attention, my full focus. I've got to be about this and activate myself in the awareness that this thing that I'm participating in now is different to everything else that I read and participate with in the world. It has a higher level. It has a higher purpose to it. And not only can I connect with that higher purpose, but I must. Right? My sense of devotion has to be developed. My sense of discipline has to be developed. Right? I have to become more aware of what I'm doing in my own mind so that I can, if you want to call it healthy habits, so that I can develop healthy habits. That's a good thing, because the typical human mind that comes to the course usually does so after being downtrodden for so long, and usually has somewhere this kind of low opinion of itself, or this malaise and like can't be botheredness about it because it's just going to get knocked down again, right? But it's like we've got to rekindle that, and there's a spark in you that will be rekindled when you give it full value, when you give it full devotion, right? That's what the idea of devotion is. I'm devoting myself to this. It's one thing to say it and another thing to actually feel it, another thing to connect with it. Do I walk out my front door and feel like I'm devoted to my spiritual path, or is it just something that I feel when I'm reading the book and it's just an idea that I have about myself as an identity marker or something, you know? Like it's got to become real. So realizing, and everyone has it, like I'm not just singling, I mean, I'm singling you out, but I'm not just singling you out. Everybody has it. Everybody has this malaise, this veil across the mind, right? Jesus talks about it that way, as a veil over consciousness. Tyna, same thing. Tyna talks about it as a density. I love her word better than the veil. There's this density to consciousness. Sorry, Jesus, Tyna, just one up to you on that one. But there's this density to consciousness that it's hard to permeate. It's hard to penetrate, right? It's not really that it's hard to permeate and penetrate. It's that you don't want to. There's this kind of lackadaisical thing that is a bad habit from normal daily living. And it's like, all right, I've got to hold myself accountable to frickin' every little jot and tittle of my life, of my character, of my personality, of my attitude, of everything. And I'm going to give it all to God, right? It couldn't not be coming up for you now if it weren't going to be something that's being perfected, that's being used, that's being molded into, what's that in the Bible where he says you will be molded into a useful tool or something? I think it's in the book of Job. I can't remember. Who was I talking about that to the other day? Somebody, can't remember. But anyway, but just be aware of that. All right. Be aware of it. It's like sometimes you'll go through healing situations, and what happens is you see a trigger, right? A trigger doesn't always have to be something that makes you angry. It can be kind of like a lazy background trigger or a lazy background attitude. But you'll come up against it again and again. In a physical sense, it's like a person might trigger you. I keep seeing this person and they make me feel a certain way again and again and again. And you learn to become more aware of it so that the next time you meet them, you're going to be primed and ready for miracle mindedness in that situation, because you're realizing this is a teaching learning situation being presented to me again and again. This person is actually my teacher, right? This person is my teacher. I'm a student of this person, whether it's a park bum or whether it's somebody you consider to be exalted or anything. It doesn't matter. Everyone is your teacher. And they're presenting you this opportunity. But learning to become vigilant, learning to become aware will help you to tune into the subtle frequencies of your own attitude, of your own level of participation with everything that's going on. And you want that to become more intimate. Right? You want it to become intimate. You want your relationship with God to become completely intimate and to feel romantic in a certain way, right? Romantic's a nice way to put it. My relationship with God should feel like a divine romance. I should love it. I should love it, and I should wake up in the morning feeling in love with it, right? That's how I want my relationship with my world, my peoples, my everything to be. This beautiful romantic kind of relationship. Not with all the gushy stuff, but just in the sense, I mean, maybe the gushy stuff too, but just in the sense that I enjoy it, right? I enjoy, joy being the thing. I enjoy my relationship in life, with life, as life, because it's what I am. I'm alive. Right? I am alive. I'm not a bystander in my own experience. I am my experience. Right? That requires a presence of consciousness. I think Ramana Maharshi used to talk about it as a all-pervading presence or something. Maybe it wasn't him. Might have been, no, Krishnamurti never did presence. Eckhart Tolle does presence. Maybe it was Eckhart Tolle. But anyway, like an abiding presence of consciousness, right? With everything you're doing, including reading the book. Okay. Ra, let's have number 5. I think we're up to number 5. And it always goes deeper. Like, doesn't matter how deep you dig into this, it always goes deeper. There's always more. God always gives.
I'm never upset for the reason I think. I'm never upset for the reason I think, because I am constantly trying to justify my thoughts. I am constantly trying to make them true. I make all things my enemies so that my anger is justified and my attacks are warranted. I have not realized how much I've misused everything I see by assigning this role to it. I have done this to defend a thought system which has hurt me and which I no longer want. I'm willing to let it go.
Good. Read that bit. I make all things my enemies. Read that sentence.
I make all things my enemies so that my anger is justified.
Stop. All right. Now, think about it. How is that possible? I make all things my enemies so that my anger is justified. Right? Reasonably, a person would think, my anger is justified because I have enemies. Right? But Jesus is saying, I make all things my enemies so that my anger is justified. Right? But reasonably, if I don't have enemies, how could I possibly be angry? Right? It makes no sense. That means that anger is a pre-existing state. It doesn't depend on having enemies particularly. The attempt to justify it depends on having enemies. But anger itself is a pre-existing state within me. And I attempt to justify why I would have anger by projecting out there an idea of what an enemy is. Thus making anger valid to myself and using it as a weapon against God, because it keeps me in a separated state from love. I can't be angry at somebody and love somebody at the same time, right? So it's like that's totally in line with the Course, where the Course says, and this is the nature of things, any truly awake, enlightened, whatever mind will tell you this. You're projecting it out there first, right? My mind is projecting my world out there first, complete with the meaning that I've given it, and I project it because I've given it a meaning, and then I walk into it as if it's just kind of like a new occurrence and I didn't know I was going to be bumping into these people, situations, or things, right? Whereas to the human being, it's like I'm bumping into these people, situations, or things, and then I want to feel a certain way about it, which is not true. You feel a certain way about it first, you project that out into the universe. All of this is an illusion, right? And you make it up. It's like, I don't know if you remember in the very, very early days of computer games, right? We're talking the early Nintendo and the even the very early Xbox games. You would have like cartridge games and you would put them in the top or whatever. And sometimes if you had like a car driving game, you would see that the scenery kind of pops up as you drive. It's not there automatically. It's sort of like as you drive through the game, suddenly a building emerges and a tree emerges, rather than in life here. It's like you can see the trees down there and they're already there. You're driving through them, right? This is exactly like that. If you were to close your eyes and ask yourself, is there anything actually behind me, or is it just a void, right? And you would have to logically, you'd say, no, there's a wall and there's a room and there's everything. But you would have to actually turn around to check on that, right? Or look in a mirror and check that something behind you. But there's always going to be that moment of doubt where you don't really know. There's always the possibility that things aren't the way you think they are, right? Now, I'm telling you, there's nothing behind you or in front of you right now, despite the fact that it seems to be showing up as four walls and a TV screen or whatever you're looking at me through. And that the meaning that you've given it is a pre-existing meaning which echoes from the original choice to be separate from God, right? So what happens is you go through your process of healing, and it's like a person, let's say, who else have we got here? John above you. John shows up, and John represents a certain element or a certain relationship in your life. Maybe you buy beer at his bar or something on a Friday when you knock off work or something, and you get to know John, right? John builds up this character of dependability. His beer's always cold. His glasses are clean. His prices are reasonable. He's a nice guy. What the heck? I'm always going to go to his bar because I get the experience I want there, right, of enjoying my cold beer. And you don't even question it. It just becomes part of the dream, part of the way of things that you see your life, like the room around you. You don't question what the room is. You just take it for granted, and it's like the familiarity of it breeds contempt, right? But when you first meet John at the bar, it's a new bar. You don't know if his beer's cold or his glasses are clean. He could be a bloody mass murderer, just let out of jail, and maybe he's kind of sketchy. You don't know nothing about him, right? That's the place in your own mind where you want to come to with everything. I don't know anything. I don't know if there's a wall behind me. But my mind convinces me that I know stuff because I've given it a meaning, but the meaning is it's precursive to me actually experiencing it, right? Which is why it takes a miracle. I think that I experienced something and then I give it a meaning. This is good, this is bad. But the meaning actually existed in my mind before I met it. Before I went into John's bar and met him, I actually already had him down pat. I actually already do know what's going on the physical plane and on the spiritual plane, because my mind is connected to all things. I already know he's a child of God and that he's playing a part for me, right? It's kind of like the jig's up at this stage. Jesus, the fix is in. You can't avoid like the miracle anywhere you go. It's like, I know that's my brother in Christ and he's just playing a part. And the idea, like Jesus says, there's no friends in salvation, right? There's no mothers, there's no fathers, and there's no aunts, uncles, cousins, brothers, sisters. There's nothing. There's just myself everywhere I go, right? But that doesn't mean that I'm not going to walk through my pre-existing script of already having projected out there something with all the meaning I've given it and experience it that way. But it does mean that through my mind training, I can choose to step back and allow the Holy Spirit to precede me. The next time I walk into John's bar for a beer, I don't want to go in there with my old story. I don't want to go in there thinking that I know who he is and what he's about and the beer and everything else, that whole story, because that whole story keeps me locked into it. I want to let the moment be brand new. I want to let something else occur instead of me preempting it with my story and the meaning I've given it. I want to let something else happen that shows me the truth of where I actually am and what's actually going on. Because it'll blow your mind when you see it all disappear, including your own body, right? You can call that an out-of-body experience if you want. It's not really. It's a no world, no body, no person, no nothing experience. It's just truth, right? But all of these lessons are geared at that. So when Jesus says, I make all things my enemies to justify my anger, the anger is already there. That's why it's pointless walking around going, well, I'm not really an angry person. If you have an enemy or you have a grievance or you have a problem or whatever, yeah, you are. Doesn't matter whether you recognize it or not. I'm going to take Jesus's word for that, not my own. Right? And I have this other little analogy that, you see a demure woman or a slight woman, let's say, with a child or whatever, and she's petite and kind and demure and like completely unoffensive and non-violent, non anything like that, no attitude, whatever. But you put that woman in a corner, you threaten her child, she's like a tomcat, right? That just comes out, right? That potential is within everybody, right? And that's a weird analogy, I know, but I don't have a better one right now. It'll do. But that's in everybody, right? So within you is, I make all things my enemy so that my anger is justified. I want my anger to be justified. That's why I make enemies. I know that I'm not separate from God. I'm kidding myself. It's a mind game that I play with myself. Right? Deb, it's a mind game you play with yourself. Somewhere in there, you know you're not separate from all things. But yet if I can make an enemy, that'll justify my anger. My anger will prove to me that I'm separate from God. Boom, boom, God fails. I win. And it's this kind of like pointless, like giving yourself this little trophy, this award. What's the point of it? You just die at the end, come back to do it again and again and again and again. It's pointless and meaningless. It's like focusing on the little black spot on the sun. What the hell is that little black spot? Don't worry about it. Just get on with life. The sun's still shining. You're getting a tan. Got a daiquiri. Everything's great. Been to Jono's bar. The beer's cold. But you can become fixated on specific aspects within the dream, separating them out from everything else, rather than being in the present awareness of the whole dream, in the world but not of it, one with all things. Right? It's like when I'm walking back from the car this morning, I'm just in awe. I'm just in the wow of my experience of myself within that walk. The guy was just like icing on the cake, came and gave me a big smile, reflecting back to me how I was actually feeling about things in my own awareness of myself. This guy was like a symbolic representation of me, presenting myself to me, and I just totally fell in love It's like, wow, that guy's smile just lit me up even more than I already am. You know, it's like Tina's Jamaican guy. Who are you? I need to know. Your smile and your energy is just so bang. You know, I need to know. It's like when you feel good, your world feels good. When you're on fire, your world's on fire. It's just brilliant, right? But if you get fixated into focusing on a small part of it, it has a habit of really collapsing in really quite quickly to draw all your attention to that small part of it. And even though that small part of it now exists in the past as an experience that happened yesterday or something, you're still there thinking about it, right? So, whereas life is actually happening to you here and now, even in the dream, right here, right now. This is incredible. Look at us all. Who would have thought it would look like this? How bizarre is it? You know, it's like I look at the idea of what's that movie? The megaverses, the multiverses. They go through one multiverse and they're made of paint. All of a sudden, everything's paint or just liquid color. Why doesn't it look like that? It looks like this. Isn't this enough? Isn't this wow enough? It's like, holy shit, look where I am. What is this? What is this experience I'm having? You know? Even if you're in prison, it's like, holy cow, you got all eternity. Like, try to imagine eternity. All of a sudden, I'm doing a 10-year stint because I crashed my car without insurance or something and hurt somebody or whatever it is. I robbed a bank and I'm doing 12 years. It's like, holy shit, I'm doing 12 years. Holy crap, what an experience I'm having. You know? Or all of a sudden I win the lottery or I make a new friend. It's like everything is just this wow. Because I stopped taking it for granted and I realized this is my experience. This is all me. This is a living experience I'm enjoying and having, and I want to enjoy it to its maximum potential because it's temporary. And when it's done, I don't get to have it again. Right? There's no point walking around mumbling because something happened yesterday that, you know, I wish that never happened. I hope that doesn't happen again. It's like, wow, that happened. If that happens again, holy crap. Imagine having that happen twice, you know. My partner left me and I lost my house. That's incredible. What an experience that is. You know, how you choose to meet the experience is up to you. But let it be miraculous. Let everything be miraculous. Keep an open mind. You've already, like, I make everything my enemy. That's just a snapshot. I make everything my enemy that my anger is justified. I make everything my friend so that my happiness is justified also, right? But out of those two perspectives, one seems to lend support and help and comfort towards our endeavors in healing, and the other one seems to be antithetical to it. Other than that, it's useful for being healed. You know, all right, let me look at that and I'll go into the healing. I don't want that hanging around though. I see that vibration is kind of low. I want to raise up from all that. I want to raise up from that way of seeing, that way of thinking. I want to raise up from that grievance, that idea of separation, so that I just find myself in the wow. Yes, wow and thank you of life. I want that to be my only perspective. Yes, wow and thank you. Right? Deb, do number 6.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I am upset because I see what is not there. Reality is never frightening. It is impossible that it could upset me. Reality brings only perfect peace. When I'm upset, it is always because I have replaced reality with illusions I made up. The illusions are upsetting because I have given them reality and thus regard reality as an illusion.
Bam.
Nothing in God's creation is affected in any way by this confusion of mine.
Good.
I am always upset by nothing.
Right. Now, without turning around to look, is there a window behind you to your left?
Yes.
Right. How do you know that? Past
I've
experience. Right?
Okay.
If you turn around, you expect to see it.
Yep.
Right? That's how your mind sabotages you. You expect to see it. Same thing exactly as I was just saying to Ra. Right? You've already locked that in as part of a certainty, right? Where thus I've made reality an illusion, or an illusion what you just read, right? Now, one of the early lessons, I forget which it is, but in the full form of the lesson, it says, ask the chair what it is, and it will reveal itself to you, right? And it's like, well, I remember when I first read that lesson, and it's like, what do you mean ask the chair what it is? The chair's a freaking inanimate object. No, it isn't. It's part of this whole experience that I have, or I seem to be having, where I've taken everything for granted, and I'm telling myself that it's an inanimate object. But if it's just zeros and ones, if it's just digital, if it's just light being manifested through atoms, molecules, whatever, and it's not really actually solid at all, then what actually is it? Right? So, but because my mind becomes so certain and so concretized on the way things are, right? It's like when kids are young, they're open-minded. You can tell them Santa Claus and they believe you. Oh, really? Santa Claus? That sounds good. Damn. They don't even doubt you. All of a sudden, have you heard about Santa Claus? They're over the fence to the kids next door. Have you heard about? Yep, I heard about. Wow, holy crap, this is great, right? And they're in that experience, right? But the window behind you is literally that moment. But we think that we get older, we grow up, and we know what things are and everything, and we adapt to what we think is the dream as we perceive it. But it's not. Ask the chair what it is. Right? I think that's the lesson you're reading. I'm not sure. Tyna, can you find the long form lesson 6? Just have a read through where he says, ask the chair what it is. I think it's the chair or the table or whatever. I think it's the same one where it says you will begin to see little edges of light around the same familiar objects that you've seen before or that you see now, right? And that's what happens in the mind. The mind takes everything for granted, right? That's why relationships fall apart. I took my partner for granted. They became familiar to me and whatever. And I defended those familiar perceptions of them rather than allowing them to be actually something outside of that as well, because I'm here on an experience of limitation and that's what I've chosen, right? And so you look for people, partners and friends and situations to confirm to you the limitation of your experience. And it's not until Jesus comes along you realize, well, that's kind of dumb. Why did I do that? I don't want to limit my experience here. I want to live. I want to be alive. Otherwise, you end up working in a 3x3 room with a window overlooking a factory, no natural daylight. And and I've been in that place. I've been in that job that I fucking hated so much. Working in a warehouse with boxes and shit everywhere, day in, day out. No natural daylight unless a truck came in and we would have to put the big roller doors up to let the truck in. The rest of the time was artificial light. And it was like that was an idea in my mind of hatred. You know, I made that my enemy to justify my hatred of it. It's the same thing. It doesn't have to be a person. You can hate a situation. But you can also heal that. It's not about throwing away your job or changing the landscape, unless it is. So, did you find it?
Yeah, I think it's actually the next one.
Oh, all right. All
I
right.
see
Well,
only
who's
the
doing
past.
it? Sima, can you read the next one? I see only the past. And then Tyna, you can read that lesson after.
Okay. You're muted.
You have
Sima.
to unmute. You have to unmute the microphone. All right, you can start again.
I see only the past. As I look about, I condemn the world I look upon. I call this seeing. I hold the past against everyone and everything, making them my enemies. When I have forgiven myself and remembered who I am, I will bless everyone and everything I see. There will be no past and therefore no enemies. And I will look with God on all that I failed to see before.
Good. Your book says God. Hold up the little book you're reading.
The one you sent me.
Oh, it says God. I always thought it was I will look with love on all I failed to see. But anyway,
I was
same thing.
about to say, I do see everybody as love.
Good. Right.
Yeah. That's
cool.
And I have been forgiving everybody who has been in my life, who I have done wrong and who they have done wrong by me. So I have been forgiving and seeing them as love.
Have you read the definition of what is forgiveness in the teacher's manual?
No, not yet.
Let's do it.
Forgiveness. Yeah, true forgiveness brings you inner peace. That's all I know at the moment.
Right. All right. So in the teacher's manual, there's a section called What is Forgiveness?
Uh-huh.
If you get drawn to it, then read it. But right here and now, I'm not going to direct you that way. I'm just letting you know that it's there.
Thank you.
It's a really, really cool clarification on what forgiveness actually is. All right. I know in the 12-step program, when I was in AA many, many years ago, the 12-step program, you make a list of everyone you've got a grievance and you become willing to make amends and forgive and all that sort of stuff. And it's a literal going through a process in that way. But when Jesus talks about forgiveness, he has a whole nother angle on it. And it actually flips it over. In my mind, it flips it over and makes it much more beautiful. Like there's no one really to forgive. There is only gratitude to be offered for that person for playing their part for you perfectly to bring you to this moment here and now.
Thank you.
So, Pina, can you read
if
lesson?
If I can say something?
Yeah,
I just did the recording on what is forgiveness. I did... the special themes of relevance. I'm doing those this year because they're so powerful. Like the principles in the course. In one page, he's so clear. And the first one is what is forgiveness. So I myself was wanting to get really clear about what forgiveness was because it seems like there's an opportunity to slide my finger off my nose. But he makes it so incredibly clear. So I did what is forgiveness, and then I was guided to do, I think it was lesson 121. So I did them together, and then I also did Song of Prayer, where he talks about forgiveness in there. So I just dropped it like a couple of days ago. It's a playlist. So again, like Dave said, if you feel it in your heart, it's there, it's available, and I did it for myself. And I extend because it's a principle.
Stuff. Look at you, little a beaver building a dam.
How weird.
Good stuff. All right, read that lesson. I just love you for every day, Tina. I didn't think it was possible.
Oh, shut up. Lesson 7?
Oh. Yeah, read it out. The full form of the lesson. I want specifically. I mean, you forget the application bit for now. I just want to read that bit where he says about the little edges of light.
He doesn't say it here. I think it's later.
Oh.
Yeah, I think it's later. He doesn't talk about the little bit edges of light, but it's cool. I mean, Yeah, I don't know where that is. I can find that if you want me to find that one, but it's not here.
Yeah, that's the one. It's in the very early lessons there. I can't remember.
Yeah,
which
but I
lesson.
think it's after the 7, I'm assuming.
Be like, try lesson 12. I just got 12.
12? Okay.
Annie, can you read lesson 7, the short form in the reviews, please? Do we have another Annie here? I'm just checking. Yeah, you. Let's have it. Unmute the microphone.
Got it.
Claire's going to read lesson 1, the short form. You're going to see something miraculous.
I see only the past. As I look about, I condemn the world I look upon. I call this seeing. I hold the past against everyone and everything, making them my enemies. When I have forgiven myself and remembered who I am, I will bless everyone and everything I see. There will be no past. And therefore, no enemies.
Connection is unstable here. If you lose me, I'll be back. But... Claire, can you read lesson 1, please? In the short form, do you have it there? You find
I
that
do.
But just before you read, everyone else just close your eyes for a second and listen. When Claire reads this, I want you to listen, right? Only about 15 minutes ago, Tina read lesson 1 before, right? Which is an idea of the past, I know. When Claire reads it, I want you to be aware, or try to be aware, of how it is your mind wants to address a sense of familiarity to what she's reading as an idea of, oh, I heard that before. All right, rather than allowing it to be brand new. Okay, go ahead, Claire.
Nothing I see means anything. The reason this is so is that I see nothing, and nothing has no meaning. It is necessary that I recognize this, that I may learn to see. What I think I see now is taking the place of vision. I must let it go by realizing that it has no meaning, so that vision may take its place.
Right, read the last sentence again, please.
I must let it go
Again,
I must let it go by realizing that it has no meaning, so that vision may take its place.
right. So I'm looking for a moment where vision can take its place, which it can't do whilst I'm still hanging on to the past and ideas of the past, right? Which is why Jesus says in the Course, it's like old ideas about time are particularly difficult to change. But it's important that we focus on them and get them changed like ASAP, right? Learning to see what the purpose of time has been and how we're going to be using it now is important. I don't want to live my life assuming that I've been here before in this room, in this place, because that's just the familiarity that my memory is trying to place upon my present awareness of myself, and my purpose is to go beyond that. Right? Now, I remember twice this has happened. Once I was on acid, on LSD, and once I was just normal. I was just in the toilet. But I remember once when I was on acid, long before I came to Jesus, long before, I remember seeing the seeming solidity of the room I was in bow and warp. All the walls were wobbling like in the Matrix, where everything suddenly wobbles and becomes like non-solid, right? It didn't last for long, because as soon as it started, I'm looking at it and I'm going, whoa, and the observation of it snapped it right back into what I expected to see, right? And the same thing happened once I was at the healing center and I was sitting on the toilet, and we'd just done this meditation for like 2 hours, and I was sitting on the toilet, and all of a sudden there was this shimmering, like everything went and the toilet walls was like made out of these marble slabs or whatever, like some sort of heavy stone or fake stone or whatever, and it all vibrated. And already having seen the world disappear once, I thought, whoo, the world's about to disappear again. And of course, I realized that I examined it and judged it in that moment, and then it became instantly solid again, right? That's how quickly it happens. So this mind training is getting you to not take things for granted, right? Based on the past impressions of it. Deb, there's no window behind you. You don't even have a body. You don't have bones or blood. There's nothing. There's no Deb, right? That's the trippy thing. Deb's just the avatar. The you that you actually are is in eternity now, dreaming of a Deb. And it's like, wow, that's the perspective that I want to have when I'm walking around. Like walking around in the dream. Wow, look at this. This is all virtual. Wow. You know, a lot of people takes drugs and stuff and in order to feel connected with it. But when you realize it's just that simple wow, it's the wow factor of being present and not taking it for granted, not allowing past references to tell you what things are and how things ought to be, that you kind of find yourself catching up to your own timeline. And here I am in the present moment. It's like, this is incredible. I'm enjoying the shit out of my life, and I'm just sitting in my room. Right? I'm enjoying the shit out of everything, and I'm just here having my breakfast cereal. This is incredible breakfast cereals. We used to have the ice cream store at the healing center so guys could do service work from the ice cream store. And Ted had T-shirts printed. Jesus Christ, this is good ice cream. But literally, it was good ice cream, right? It was almost like, this is the first time I've ever tasted ice cream. Everything comes back to you brand new. You know, when you're a little tiny child, if you can remember back that far, and you look at your hands and you're like, wow, this is pretty technical. What the hell? And you kind of like in awe of everything. And then education kicks in. It tells you, oh, they're your hands, and they have bones and they have blood there. Prior to all that stuff, and then you structure a whole thing about it. Prior to all that, you're just in wonder. Little kids are just like, you watch little kids in a playground, you know, and they're just running around. They're in the moment. They're just totally fascinated by everything. Let's play Tiggy. Yeah. And they don't even stop to think about what Tiggy is. They just do it. And even if one little kid's never played Tiggy before, he'll run off with all the other kids and work it out as he goes along. You know, there's no preamble. There's no memory of what things are to a child's mind, like, which is why Jesus says, lest you become little children, right? In a sense, you're learning to become like little children in the idea that everything is spontaneous. Everything is now, right? Here and now, here and now. That's all there is. Everything else is your own imagination. Here and now in the form, that's it. It's freaking amazing. I mean, look at you guys. Who would have thought we'd have these costumes and we could meet in this sort of forum and, like, you know, we're divine beings. And it's like, look at us all. It's like, this is crazy. It's like, imagine two jellyfish suddenly putting on human suits and, you know, and they're like on the land and they're like, wow, who would have thought we could have this experience? A jellyfish, you know, but it's the same sort of thing. Right? Taking it for granted, living in the past and projecting out into the future to develop a sense of what you think the present is not the present. Here and now is not about a state of mind where, you know, be here now, man. I mean, people even make it into freaking bumper stickers. It's life. It's living. Be here now is like to be without the past and without the future. You know, old ideas about time, when you see time for what it actually is, we think it goes in a long line from BCAD, from the alpha to the omega. But it's like literally if you took that time tunnel, like where you could see everything going on, and turned it end on end and looked down it, you'd see everything happening all at once. All at once. Right? Imagine going to a bridge. You're standing at a distance looking at a bridge going across a chasm and there's a train goes across the bridge, which is time, and you're watching the train. It goes from one side to the other side. If you go to the end of the bridge and you look at the train, it's coming to you. It's not even, it doesn't seem to be, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, it's getting closer. Right? It's like that moment of now, it's always trying to get closer. It's always coming closer. You're learning to see time differently, turning it end on end and looking down that tunnel, all things happening at once. The entire universe is happening right here and right now. All of it. It's not yesterday something happened and tomorrow something happened. That's just my errant way of thinking, telling me that that's how I think things occur. And everything outside of me is going to say, that's crazy. Of course there was a yesterday. Look, it says so in the newspaper. Where are you looking at that newspaper? Right here and right now. Right? How did that newspaper appear here? I don't know. How does anything appear here? How is it possible I'm even here? You're even here. There's a here. By the grace of God. Right. All right, Owen, read number 2. Now, the rest of you guys listen. Did you hear this before, like 20 minutes ago or whatever? Or is your mind trying to tell you that somebody read number 2 just before? Right? Try to listen with present awareness. Okay? Connect with it.
I have given what I see all the meaning it has for me.
Wow. Like literally, wow. That should be a devastating and a liberating dawning on the mind at the same time. But if I think I've heard it before, it'll be like, oh yeah, I read that lesson yesterday. That's what it'll be. Keep going.
I have judged everything I look upon, and it is this and only this I see. This is not vision. It is merely an illusion of reality, because my judgments have been made quite apart from reality. I'm willing to recognize the lack of validity in my judgments, because I want to see. My judgments have hurt me, and I do not want to see according to them.
Right, read that last sentence.
My judgments have hurt me, and I do not want to see according to them.
Everybody, you ready? My judgments have hurt me. I do not want to see according to them. My judgments have hurt me. I do not want to see according to them. That's a determination. I do not want to see according to them. I've got to hear me say that. I've got to hear myself tell me that. My judgments have hurt me, and I do not want to see according to them. This whole laying aside of judgment, it's like, I've got to get real with it. I've got to mean it when I say that. I've got to feel it when I say that, because they have hurt me, and I don't want to see according to them. There may be some falsity still left in me, but that's the basic foundation that I want to come from. From this point on, from this moment here and now, I don't want to see according to my judgments. Now, the Holy Spirit, judgment's a weapon that you taught yourself, right? It's a thing that you taught yourself how to do. The Holy Spirit takes that and he doesn't say don't judge, but he teaches you to use your judgments for your holiness, right? Which in a sense is not judging, because, I mean, you're already holy, so it's not like you're judging something separate from yourself. But he teaches you to use the skill of judgment or the weapon of judgment that you made for yourself to judge for your holiness. So everything then becomes flipped over. I want to see the Christ in my brother. I want to see the truth of this being, this person. I want to see God's hand at work in this situation, not my own impressions of it. You know, I and I for everything. I want to see the I of myself in the I of you, right? It's a bit Rastafari like that, but I see myself in you. I am one with all things. It's not somebody else. We approach it from the somebody else perspective because you cannot not, right? You find yourself in the dream and it's silly to try and deny that you're here. But you approach it from the separated perspective with the awareness and the knowledge that you're doing so to have a singular experience. I'm going to enter into this relationship differently. I don't know how to do that, but I'm going to let myself be guided. I'm going to let it be miraculous. I don't want to use my past references of relationships to guide me. I don't want to have expectations of what I think a successful or not successful relationship is. And a relationship can be buying a can of fly spray from the supermarket. Everything's a relationship, right? I don't want to use my own past ideas about anything to guide me. I want something else to happen that is not of my own making. And then when you make that decision, when your mind starts to work that way, don't fill it in, right? When you allow for the gap, I'm going to let something else happen, not of my own making. And then you find yourself all of a sudden in that empty place. It's like, oh shit, what do I do now? I've taken a leap of faith and there's this temptation to want to micromanage the empty space. Don't do it. Just undergo the moment of healing, undergo the devastation of not knowing what to do for a second, and let that be accomplished in you through the divine, not through the Dave or the Tyna or the whatever. Right? It's a whole education. It's a whole process, and you will get there because you already did. You will awaken because you already did. You are already the thing you're looking for. It's not like you have to become a better version of yourself. All your faults, all your errors, all your everything that you think is negative about you is actually what gets used to show you how perfect you are. So don't sweat the small stuff, right? Your weaknesses are actually your strength. It's backwards. What you think are your strengths are your weaknesses, and what your weaknesses you think they are your strengths. Right? And you're bringing both ends of the spectrum into the here and the now. The good and the bad get collapsed in on each other and boom. But you can't just offer the negative stuff. You can't just offer the bad stuff of your dream. You've got to offer the whole lot. It's a total transformation. All the things I think about myself as being worthy and good and I'm honest and I'm all of these things, They're just the other side of all the other things that you don't think about yourself in that way. Right? You're not a body at all, and the story you have about yourself, no matter how righteously you want to tell it, doesn't account for a hill of beans. Nothing. Because nothing you see means anything. There's Meg, back again. You flash out of time for a second there, Meg? All right, any questions thus far? No, everyone's good. Be honest. I know what it's like in mind training. As soon as the Zoom finishes and you walk outside, the world's just going to go and close in on you again. Right? It's hectic. So be honest. I can tell if you're not being honest. You know that by now, surely. Dana knows that by now. All right. So what was it you said before, Tina? The Song of Prayer. Let's have a reading. Let's have a reading. Yeah, absolutely. Because we do a lot of mind stuff here, and I want to do some more heart stuff. Like I want to get into more sort of like heart related. I mean, it's the start of the year, you know. Let's start off with a nice, gentle.
I had to buy a new book.
Like opening a bag of chips.
Huh? I'll read it from my phone. Let me get my knife.
Keeping my memory there of what chips sound like. Oh, you got a whole new book.
I had to get a new book because it wasn't in mine. I was reading it off my phone. Song of Prayer. Now I have it. I said I was going to buy it so I would have it, and I did. And it came yesterday. Oh, here it is. Song of Prayer. Oh, no, this is...
I gave it to someone. I'll never come back.
It's so good.
All right, let's read the first page.
Okay.
All right, the rest of you guys just listen. Try to let yourself be nourished. Right, this is beautiful. Like, relax, get comfortable. Carrie, especially you, get comfortable. That's it.
Oh. Okay, this is Song of Prayer. Oh, and it's prayer. This is the introduction. Prayer is the greatest gift with which God blessed his Son at his creation. It was then what it is to become. The single voice creator and creation share. The song the Son sings to the Father, who returns the thanks it offers him unto the Son. Endless the harmony, and endless too the joyous concord of the love they give forever to each other. And right. In this,
stop. I just want to tell you this, right? So, for most guys who've grown up with if you've grown up without a father, you may not relate, but with the mother, growing up as a child, I always wanted to make my dad proud of me, right? I always wanted to do something where he would say, "I'm so proud of you, my son," and there would be that closeness, and that's what Tina's talking about. But I was looking for it out there in the world, and at a certain point, I realized my dad in the world doesn't give a shit about me, right? He just really doesn't, and that brought me to my knees in another whole way. His idea of loving a son is like, and I've got to keep my finger on my nose. It was like, not Sean, where's he gone? Oh, Ra. It's like what Ra read before, right? I'm projecting out there a reason to be angry. I'm projecting out there a reason why my dad doesn't love me, and he's playing that part for me. And what Tina's reading is like, this is what you're actually looking for. The closeness of that relationship, that song, and that thanks and that joy that is shared in that relationship. Earthly relationships cannot ever match it. They are nothing compared to it. And you have to have an experience of being out of your body, outside of time and space, to understand the true nature of love in the regard that Tina's talking about it now. And I remember it was a horrible moment where I had to give up on ever hoping that my dad was going to validate me, my earthly dad was going to validate me in the way that I felt like I wanted to be validated. And it took me quite some time to realize that what Tina's reading about, that's what I was feeling I wanted as my validation. Right? Start again, read that bit again. That's beautiful. Everything else is pain.
I'm starting from the beginning. Prayer is the greatest gift. Prayer is the greatest gift with which God blessed his son at his creation. It was then what it is to become. The single voice, creator and creation share. The song, the Son sings to the Father, who returns the thanks it offers him unto the Son. Endless the harmony, and endless too the joyous concord of the love they give forever to each other. And in this, creation is extended. God gives thanks to his extension in his Son. His Son gives thanks for his creation in the song of his creating in his Father's name. The love they share is what all prayer will be throughout eternity when time is done. For such it was before time seemed to be. To you who are in time a little while, prayer takes the form that best will suit your need. You have but one. What God created one must recognize its oneness and rejoice that what illusions seemed to separate is one forever in the mind of God. Prayer now must be the means by which God's Son leaves separate goals and separate interests by and turns in holy gladness to the truth of union in his Father and himself. Lay down
Tina,
your
sorry to
dreams.
interrupt. I don't know if you guys can hear me. My connection is. I'm gonna turn my phone off and turn it back on, so I'll disappear for a second.
Okay.
I keep dropping out at my end here.
We'll miss you till you get back.
You keep reading. I'll be back in a second.
All right, love you. Oh. Lay down your dreams, you holy Son of God. And rising up as God created you, dispense with idols and remember Him. Prayer will sustain you now and bless you as you lift your heart to Him in rising song that reaches higher and then higher still until both high and low have disappeared. Oh, faith in your goal will grow and hold you up as you ascend the shining stairway to the lawns of heaven and the gate of peace. For this is prayer, and here salvation is. This is the way. It is God's gift to you. The next section is true prayer. Prayer is a way offered by the Holy Spirit to reach God. It is not merely a question or an entreaty. It cannot succeed until you realize that it asks for nothing. How else could it serve its purpose? It is impossible to pray for idols and hope to reach God. True prayer must avoid the pitfall of asking to entreat. Ask rather to receive what is already given, to accept what is already there. You have been told to ask the Holy Spirit for the answer to any specific problem, and that you will receive a specific answer if such is your need. You have also been told that there is only one problem and one answer. In prayer, this is not contradictory. There are decisions to make here, and they must be made whether they be illusions or not. You cannot be asked to accept answers which are beyond the level of need that you can recognize. Therefore, it is not the form of the question that matters, nor how it is asked. The form of the answer, if given by God, will suit your need as you see it.
Right.
This is merely an echo of the reply of His voice.
Right.
The real sound is always a song of thanksgiving and of love.
Woo-hoo. Yes.
You want me to keep going?
I want you to read that bit again, where it talks about where the answer will be given in a way that you can understand, because you can't be expected to understand an answer that's beyond what you can recognize. That bit.
Okay.
It was like a little bit back.
Okay. You have been told to ask the Holy Spirit for the answer to any specific problem.
That's it.
And that you will receive a specific answer if such is your need. You have also been told that there is only one problem and one answer. In prayer, this is not contradictory. There are decisions to make here, and they must be made whether they be illusions or not.
Right.
You cannot be asked to accept answers which are beyond the level of need that you can recognize.
Right. Stop.
Therefore,
Beyond the level of need that you can recognize. Right? I didn't recognize the need I had to remember my father until I remembered my father. It didn't occur to me that I was looking for God. Even though I was praying to God, it didn't occur to me that that's what I was looking for, that that's what was missing. It was so well hidden from me what I was actually looking for. You know, I was looking for happiness. I was looking for peace. I was looking for all of those things, but it didn't occur to me I was looking for God. No way would I have picked that out of a bloody grab bag, you know. The answers that you receive to your prayers are relative, directly relative to your need as you perceive it. When you truly perceive, and you can't fake it till you make it in this one, you know, like you've got to arrive there. It's like when Jesus says, you know, you have to make the decisions whether they're illusions or not. You've got to arrive at this by your own efforts. But it's like if somebody had told me, I don't know whether I would have heard them or not. I mean, here in my consciousness, like Sean, when I was saying to Sean about you got to hear that what you're reading. If somebody had told me prior to my illumination that I was actually looking for God, I don't know whether I would have heard them. I don't know whether it would have sunk in that that's what I was looking for. Maybe they could have saved me 10 years of struggle and searching out there in all the places I was looking in the wrong place. Right? But there's this density that prevented me from actually knowing what I was truly looking for, and I couldn't perceive what I was truly looking for, and I couldn't really perceive what my prayer, the power of my prayer, was really aimed at uncovering or connecting me with, even though I'm telling myself I'm praying to God. It's preposterous and bizarre. I'm saying the words, but it didn't actually go bang and dawn on me like the house falling down on my head when I had revelation. It's like, holy shit. I didn't know that I was looking for God until I found God, or until I remembered God. Then I knew. Right? Because in that moment, that's all knowing possible. There's no knowing beyond that. It's like the last piece of the puzzle. All right, keep reading. Read that little bit again. That's so amazing. Like, I love Jesus, just like
it's so good. It's so good.
The grasp of our situation, you know, even the bit where he loves us totally and he says, you who are in time a little while. It's like, man, he knows what we're going through. He's with us. He's totally on our side. He, like, everything is supporting. He's like, I know you guys are in time a little while, but we're still going to have to make these decisions together. Right? Exactly.
So good.
I know, it's beautiful. It's really beautiful.
Oh, God. All right. And I'm going to read the next one too, the next little section, because he answers it. All right. So you have been told, you have been told to ask the Holy Spirit for the answer to any specific problem, and that you will receive a specific answer if such is your need. You have also been told that there is only one problem and one answer. In prayer, this is not contradictory. There are decisions to make here, and they must be made whether they be illusions or not. You cannot be asked to accept answers which are beyond the level of need that you can recognize. Therefore, it is not the form of the question that matters, nor how it is asked. The form of the answer, if given by God, will suit your need as you see it. This is merely an echo of the reply of His voice. The real sound is always a song of thanksgiving and of love. Here it is. Oh. 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 You cannot then ask for the echo. It is the song that is the gift. Along with it come the overtones, the harmonics, the echoes, but these are secondary. In true prayer, you hear only the song. All the rest is merely added. You have sought first.
Read that again. Read that again. That bit about
You cannot then ask for the echo. It is the song that is the gift. Along with it come the overtones, the harmonics, the echoes, but these are secondary. In true prayer.
Stop. The overtones and the harmonics. Where's Zoe? Zoe, what Tina's reading, those, like this song. This song is something, this prayerful state of being is the true relationship we have with each other. Right? That's the true relationship of our Christ brotherhood, if you want to look at it that way, or of our oneness, our unity with each other. Right? When you're undergoing these moments of healing and forgiveness, I always talk about it as subtle frequencies. You start to become aware of these subtle frequencies. Jesus just put it exactly what I'm talking about through subtle frequencies as overtones and harmonics, right? They're of a relationship. When I said to you earlier that you have a harmonic to me that goes way back, like it's like you've been singing that song of prayer for a long time. That's how I would. It starts like it's Tina's reading that and things. I'm just going bang, bang, and it's just hitting me like what I'm trying to pinpoint with you. I'm hearing the harmonic. I'm picking up on the vibration of it, but it's it's the origin of the vibration that matters.
Mm.
Okay? So it's like as an idea of relationship, I've got to, let's say for a second, because decisions have to be made, whether illusion or not, right? I have to make a decision to bring the Zoe Dave relationship to holiness in my own mind, right? Because in my own mind, there's nothing to forgive. I'm aware of the relationship on a level that I can perceive what's being offered, right? But where is it? Where's Ra I was talking to before about the idea of the past always sort of clouds you again, and you tend to, as if that's in the past, right? But it's not. It's present. It's a present moment. It's a present prayer. It's a present relationship. Most relationships, and this, I don't know how this, I still don't know how this fits in. Tina's probably going to read it to me in a second. Most relationships, when I'm interacting with people, when they read from the book to me, like, and I'll just make up a story to try and get at what I'm trying to say here. Imagine if you were with Jesus 2,000 odd years ago, and I'm just making this up. This isn't a true thing, right? If you were with Jesus 2,000 years ago, and you suddenly were reading A Course in Miracles to me, I would recognize your harmonic from those 2,000 years ago as being that you were there with Jesus. And I don't know how that occurs in my mind, but it's always correct. It's always accurate, right? I don't know how that happens, right? The gifts of the Holy Spirit, perhaps you can call it that, but it's never wrong. It's always accurate. And whenever any moment of healing occurs through me and through a relationship, it's always, when he says the miracle collapses time, that is the time that gets collapsed for me in that relationship. So you, for me, Zoe, represent an enormous span of time that I'm looking forward to the collapse of, right? Already knowing that it's already actually happened, right? What that is in my own mind, it's showing up, it's subtle. There's a subtle frequency, and I keep grasping at it. When you read stuff, I'm like, there it is again. There it is again. What is that? Right? There's a signature, there's an energetic or a harmonic to it that, to me, represents something that would have once been a grievance, right? Because all of time and space is a grievance against God, the whole thing, right? So when you find yourself in a cycle, right? If you become vigilant and watch your own cycles, that same person annoys me all the time, that same job is boring, that same thing, and you find that you go through these same conclusions about relationships again and again and again. You see your cycle, right? I'm sick of this cycle. Why am I doing this same thing, banging my head against the wall, getting the same result again and again and again? And you want something to change, right? Temporal relationships come around in cycles, like the seasons, like Christmas, like everything. It comes around again and again and again. That's how you become aware of it. As you go through the process of healing and become more proficient, I guess, or more associated with the idea of healing, things become more subtle. You're like, oh, what was that? Was that a judgment I just made? Did I judge something there? Did that affect me? Did that disturb my peace of mind? And you become so tuned in for even the slightest little disturbance to your peace of mind. It becomes ridiculous. It's like you're hearing these little vibrational tones that represent what the grievance is, and they seem to be so far away, so far out there, that when they come around again, it might be 10,000 years before they come around again. And I don't really know how to talk about that. So it's like when you first started coming to our Zoom meetings, and I said to Tina afterwards, I said, man, I don't want to lose her. I want her to stay in our Zoom meetings, because there's something, there's a vibration that goes way back, like as if it comes, like comets, and they come around every 70 years or every 500 years. It's much like that, right? Generally, you deal with the stuff that shows up on a day-to-day basis. It's kind of domestic. But when it's like when Jesus says, you don't even perceive the level of prayer that you need. You couldn't, if the true answer was given to you to your prayer, you wouldn't even notice it, right? Because you don't have a perception of it yet. Once you have an experience or two of something outside of time, your mind automatically just wants to latch onto that. Your mind automatically starts to think outside the box, and just as soon as some vibration comes across the threshold that grabs your attention, you're like, whoo, and you follow it. It's like this resonance. It's like Jesus, who touched my robe? He knew. How the hell did he know? 10,000 people are pressing on him. Somebody just touched his robe. It's like you become aware of these subtle frequencies, and it just blows my mind, because I'm so used to being this dense form association of a Dave, that just clunks around the planet doing stuff and shoving food in its face, that when you start to really tap into your supernatural or your esoteric powers or whatever you want to look at that as, your metaphysical sense, your sixth sense, your spiritual sense of things, it's amazing. You don't know what to do with it 99% of the time, but you can at least give it to the Holy Spirit, you know. But it's like, I always like to sit with things. So if something comes along, if I meet someone and they even in the slightest little rub me up the wrong way, it's like my finger goes straight on my nose. What is that in me? And I sit with it and I try to feel it. I try to allow it to be present. And sometimes it feels like a signature of something. Ah, that person's just like that other person I met last year. I won't fall for that trick again, you know, that con man or that whatever. Or, oh, that person I remember in my childhood. And you start to realize that your associations go back not only to the beginning and the ending of this incarnation or this experience of life, the illusion, right? Because that's where we're making the decisions, but throughout all of your timeline as mind, not just the physical entity experiencing mind through this particular avatar, you know. So it's like, and I've had two really trippy, I will call them past life experiences or other life experiences as an avatar with this associative memory package, I guess. One was being an African woman, a really big, solid African woman standing in a desert. All of a sudden, the room and all the people that I was with disappeared, and I was in the desert as an African woman, as real in that experience of being the African woman as this is to me now. I was gone from the room. I was somewhere else in a different body doing a whole different thing. I'm going to call that a past life because I don't really know what the hell else it was, right? Maybe the timelines got zigzagged across or something and we did a Freaky Friday. I don't know, right? And the other one was standing at the foot of the crucifix where Jesus was nailed up. Everything disappeared, you know. But in those both experiences, I realized that my idea of temporal life goes way beyond what I think a Dave idea is. It's every lifetime. It's all lives. It's all beings, which is why Jesus says your miracle, you know, like the gift of your awakening, reaches to those who haven't even been born yet and those who are yet to come into this continuum to have an incarnation, right? Talk about being omnipresent. It's bizarre, you know, and you have these characters and people that come in and out of your dream that represent certain energy packages. Like when I look at your energy package, I don't have an association for it. It goes right back to outside of my spectrum. You know, it's exciting to me. It's like we must be at the end of time. I don't know. I really don't know. Like things get shown to you, you know, like things get revealed. And I'm sure if I really sat still for a second, I could be shown what's going on with that. But I don't feel that I need to. So I'm just going to just leave it for a second until it becomes more relevant, I guess. Because at the moment, I feel like I'm kind of clutching with straws. But anyway, keep reading, Tina. It's just exciting, though. Everything's freaking exciting, you know, like, it's like, holy shit. I'm not a body. It's exciting. It's another one. Carrie's got, where is she? She's got a huge package of energy.
All right. You cannot then ask for the echo. It is the song that is the gift. Along with it come the overtones, the harmonics, the echoes, but these are secondary. In true prayer, You hear only the song. All the rest is merely added. You have sought first the kingdom of heaven, and all else has indeed been given you. The secret of true prayer is to forget the things you think you need The secret of true prayer is to forget the things you think you need. To ask for the specific is much the same as to look on sin and then forgive it. Also, in the same way, in prayer, you overlook your specific needs as you see them and let them go into God's hands. There they become your gifts to Him, for they tell Him that you would have no gods before Him.
Thy will be done.
No love but His. What could His answer be but your remembrance of Him? Can this be traded for a bit of trifling advice about a problem of an instant's duration? God answers only for eternity. But still, all little answers are contained in this. Prayer is a stepping aside, a letting go, a quiet time of listening and loving. It should not be confused with supplication of any kind, because it is a way of remembering your holiness. Why should holiness entreat being fully entitled to everything love has to offer?
Amen. That's
Amen. Shalom. And it is to love you go in prayer. Prayer is an offering, a giving up of yourself to be at one with love. There is nothing to ask because there is nothing left to want. That nothingness becomes the altar of God. It disappears in Him. This is not a level of prayer that everyone can attain as yet. Those who have not reached it still need your help in prayer because their asking is not yet based upon acceptance. Help in prayer does not mean that another mediates between you and God, but it does mean that another stands beside you and helps to raise you up to Him. One who has realized the goodness of God. One who has realized the goodness of God, who prays without fear. And one who prays without fear cannot but reach Him. He can therefore also reach His Son, wherever He may be and whatever form He may seem to take. Praying to Christ in anyone is true prayer because it is a gift of thanks to his Father. To ask that Christ be but himself is not an entreaty. It is a song of thanksgiving for what you are.
Stop. The only true prayer is thank you. Thank you, Father. That prayer proceeds from you automatically with the surrender to divine will, in the recognition that no matter what seems to occur, it's for your good, whether you can recognize it or not, whether you understand it or not. Thank you, Father. Thank you, Father. Thank you, Father. It's a state of total surrender. It's a state of total acceptance. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. When he says not everyone can reach this level as yet, it's like, that's fine. There may be things in the specificity of coming to that arrangement that you feel that you need. But literally, the activity of being just grateful to your brothers, to God, to everything, to yourself, for everything, allows the energy to flow through you just like a river, unimpeded, no obstacles, no nothing. Thank you, God. Right? Everything is either a lesson or a blessing. If it's a lesson, then let me learn the lesson. Thank you, Father. Let me learn it. If it's a blessing, thank you, Father. Let me extend this blessing to everyone that I meet and everyone I think of. Nothing comes to you for yourself alone. It's always that it may be given, because the activity of God is only to give. Hello, beautiful children.
Mm-hmm.
They already know all this stuff. They wonder why adults educate. But let's do some breathing.
There's just a couple more sentences.
No, it sounds funny, kids. This is a kind of a special breathing. All right, get comfortable. Empty your mind, whatever you're thinking of, let it go. Whatever seems to be going on, let go of it. It doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. Truth is true and nothing else matters. Nothing else matters. Truth is true and nothing else matters. Take a deep breath in through your nose, out through the top of your head. Think up, feel up. Let your consciousness go up. Slowly in, slowly out. After a few breaths, you should be aware of a little tingling sensation in the crown of your head. You should feel like a little draft or a breeze of air almost coming out of your skull, like a portal for a dolphin, a blowhole. Take a breath in, focus up on your crown. Out. In and out. And I want you to feel. Connect with your breath and just feel. Whatever comes to you, feel it. We're going to go on a little journey into fear in a second. We're going to go on a little journey into the dark. We're just going to prepare ourselves to take that journey. Breathe. Connect with the Holy Spirit. Lord, here I am. In your own mind, perhaps see yourself in the desert, drawing a circle in the sand, and I want you to step into that circle. The only purpose that circle has is healing. That's it. No other purpose. It's totally devoted and dedicated to healing. That circle is your sanctuary. Step into the circle, breathe, feel, and connect. Whether you get a sense of feeling a connection or not, it doesn't matter. All that matters is that you are willing to try, willing to attempt, willing to say yes, willing to be open to something. Take a breath. Breathe. Here I am, Lord. I'm here for the healing of my mind that believes that I am separate from God. The proof of this belief shows up in my relationships as upset, as grievance, as a belief that someone did something to me, that I'm a victim rather than that I am the omnipotent power of my own association. I am the dreamer of my dream. My forgiveness is gratitude, because prior to this, I had asked everyone to play a part for me in my drama of separation, to push me, to taunt me, to tease me, to kill me. Over and over, lifetime after lifetime. And my brothers are locked into the roles that they play for me until I forgive myself for asking them to play that role. Because I am the dreamer of my dream. I am the author of my script. I release you now from the role that I have asked you to play for me. And I forgive myself. I'm willing to accept God's forgiveness for myself for asking you to play that part in the first place. And I need to feel that forgiveness. I need to feel that release. Thank you for playing that part for me, my dear brother who has traveled with me from eternity to this horrible dream, to this awful domain, to play out a part so faithfully, according to my wishes. Now I would let go of that old dream and forgive myself for it and step into a new place, step into an open space where I may not remember yet my truth, but where I will stand to wait for the revelation of that truth. I will stand in my circle, having forgiven myself and having become willing to forgive myself my old dream. And I will await the moment of my rebirth. And we stand and wait together. We stand and we wait together, certain that God hears our prayer. Here I am, Lord, thank you. Breathe, close your eyes, and focus. Here I am, Lord. Here I am. I refuse to step outside this circle until I am experienced, until I remember my truth, because nothing else matters to me. Truth is true and nothing else matters. I'm going to stand in this circle and I'm going to feel all of this old dream coming up to make way for the new one, to make way for a forgiven world, a forgiven dream. I want to feel the pain of my old dream now that I've released it as it comes up for healing. I want to feel the sorrow, the loss. I'm not going to try and hide from it anymore. I'm going to let it come up. The disappointment, the betrayal, Everything I've given meaning to, that I've tried to use as a weapon to justify my anger, to justify separation, now forgiven, now to be released. Breathe and let go. Breathe and let go. Here I am, Lord. Feel. Feel. Connect with your pain. This is a journey into fear, not away from it, into fear. You want to find your pain. You are safe in your circle. You don't need the accompanying stories. You just need that truth, that emotionality. Let it be there. Let it be there, how you truly feel. Let yourself go deep. Let yourself fall into it. Feel it and give it to the Holy Spirit. Here I am, Lord. Take this from me. Take this from me as I climb the ladder to self-realization. Here's another package of energy that I've tried to use as a weapon against you. I forgive myself for that. Here, take it from me and transform it. Breathe and feel. Your ego will try to distract you. Your ego will try to take you out of feeling, back into concepts, back into thoughts about feeling. Don't be distracted. Just feel. Stay in the experience and let it take you to the depths. Breathe. Good. When I was much younger, my pain was activated by the images on television of children in Africa during the biggest famine ever known. 11,000 young children every day dying of starvation, and nothing I could do about it. That drove me into such a place of pain. I couldn't eat the food on my plate at dinner time. I couldn't look at my food. I hurt. My heart hurt. I didn't want to be in this world. All those beautiful people, my brothers in Africa, starving with no food and no water. My love for them, I turned it into pain. I blamed myself. Why should I have this food? Why am I better than them? Why am I more deserving than them? I couldn't stand it. Any brother anywhere suffering, any brother anywhere. I felt everything. I felt everything so severely. People might say that's because I'm quite empathetic, but it's because I'm the dreamer of my dream. I refuse to try and block it out. I refuse to try and deny my feelings. I didn't know what to do about them back then. But I couldn't deny them. It didn't make any sense. They spurned me into action. I joined groups of people. When the environmental idea started to present itself, I went into the forest with thousands of people and tied myself to a tree. I protested. I went through towns, rural towns, mining towns, waving placards with thousands of other people. I joined in a movement. because of my pain, which I was using against God to justify my anger, to keep myself separate. I didn't know that at the time. I accepted everything on face value. I didn't realize there was a more sinister plot underneath. I didn't realize how deep the rabbit hole went. Breathe and feel. Feel it, that grievance, that person, someone that upsets you. See them there. See what they represent. This situation with your parents, this situation with authority. I hate authority. My parents never loved me. Not in the way I felt I needed to be loved or wanted to be loved. Whatever your story is, feel your story. Don't conceptualize it. Feel it. Try to connect with it. Whatever that feeling is, it makes me feel angry. It makes me feel furious. It makes me feel hopeless. It makes me feel empty. It makes me feel lost. And let it draw you down into the depths. Follow that feeling, how deep it goes, and give it to the Holy Spirit. My partner cheated on me is always a favorite one in the dream. That hurts. I had expectations and they were shattered. That's painful. I don't want to go through that again. It's an idea. Feel it. Here I am, Lord. Heal my mind of separation. Let me not be afraid to look below the waterline and see how big the iceberg is. The situation you have, any given relationship you have, has the potential to show you the whole thing if you're willing to collapse of your whole thought system so that it can give back to you brand new, so you can learn to become just grateful for everything. The good and the bad, the right and the wrong, in the world but not of it. Feel your family, their disappointments. It's too easy to just fob it off as somebody else. Oh, that's their pain, that's their story. I'm okay. This group of people, this race of people, how do I truly feel about it? It fucking sucks. I hate it. I hate the world. Jesus says, unless a man hates the world, he cannot follow me. You've got to feel the world. Feel the burden on your shoulders. Look at the whole thing. Every day, 8 billion people going through this futile experience of suffering because I wanted a dream of separation from God. Because I wanted to experience something other than my eternal perfection. Because I had a tiny mad idea and I forgot to laugh. There's no blame, there's no guilt, but there is responsibility. I've got to get my ass out of here. I've got to wake up. This is a dream. This is a nightmare of a dream. Pain, suffering, and death. I've got to pay attention to this Jesus dude. He's the only one in my dream that tells me there is no death. He's the only one that rose up from the dead. What the hell is he talking about? Forgive. Forgive the world. Come on home. How do I even do that? It seems like an incredible task, an amazing undertaking. What kind of a journey is it that I'm on? This journey into fear, journey into the dark, journey into the depths of my own psychology, of my own psyche, to see how full of shit I am. Here I am, Lord, heal me. Heal me of this idea of separation. I'm done with it. I would represent you on earth instead. I would represent you. Whilst I'm in time a little while, let me devote my life to healing and to helping others to learn how to heal and be healers themselves. Because there's nothing else here in a dream other than a graveyard. This divine, this universal, this celestial rescue effort, I'm part of it now. You're part of it now. We are all part of it. Not for ourselves, for our brothers. Let me think only of them and have no concern of myself, no concern of my body. Let me learn of true selflessness. Let me learn how to give love. Let me learn how to extend only love. Heal my mind of everything else, every reason I think, every justification I think I have for anger or for condemnation or for judgment. Purify me of that. Make me an empty vessel. Clean me out, Lord. I would walk with that guy that wears sandals, and that's it. I got nothing else going. That's my story now. I'm giving up the world and I'm following him one step at a time. Breathe. And it's always perfect. You can't put a foot wrong. You'll be led where you're meant to be led. You'll meet who you're meant to meet. You'll say what you're meant to say, and you'll do what you're meant to do. Becoming the witness that consciously will be a meaningless experience. Awaken, connect, feel. This is your life. It's not a practice run. It's happening now. This is your experience. It's happening now. Feel it for whatever it is. If it's sad, let it be sad. If it's brilliant, let it be brilliant. But be honest about where you find yourself with it always. Don't deny your pain. Don't try to avoid your pain. If it's painful sometimes, go through that. Here I am, Lord, I've got this pain going on. I must have chosen to see wrongly. I must have chosen to judge somewhere, and it's coming back to bite me. Bad habits of thought do that. Cyclical patterns of thought do that. But at least now I've got recourse to the law, the true law, the higher law, God's law, and I am under no laws but God's. And that's my salvation. Breathe. Feel. Breathe, Colin. Breathe. Connect. Every one of you is included. Your names are all written in the book of life. But you still have to do the work. Thank you, Father. Thank you, Father. Breathe. Stay in that circle until it's done. The more you practice the principles, the more you put them into application in your life, the more you try to apply them into your life, eventually you must succeed. If all of your determination with everything is set towards a certain direction, eventually you will reach the point of that direction. You'll reach the goal. Don't worry if things seem to take too long. Don't worry if you're not as far ahead as you thought you were. There's no such thing as far ahead. There's only here and now. This moment is given me to practice Christ-mindedness. This moment is given me to see truly. It's not going to happen in the future. It's happening now. All of this other shit that seems to be telling me how important it is that I hold a grievance or a grudge or be upset about something, let me let that go so I can see with the eyes of Christ again, my beautiful brothers. And remember my true relationship and hear that song, the song of prayer. When I very first stood up, the moment after my illumination, and I looked directly ahead, there was a woman in front of me in her 80s, in her mid-80s, a little grandmotherly figure with curly white hair, and she had a smile on her face like the Cheshire Cat. And I was washed in that moment with love for her that is beyond anything I can describe, is beyond any possibility of describing in words. And I knew that that love for her that I had for her was the truth of our relationship. It was only love. There was nothing else. Only love. The world tries to cover that up. The ego tries to cover that up. Dumb it down and make it into something. It makes no sense to the human construct at all. It's beyond understanding. Breathe. Sit up straight, Zoe. That's it. Connect. Feel. Feel. Here I am, Lord. Here I am. I come again to the altar. Purify my mind. Heal my mind of the belief in separation. One problem, one solution. I believe in separation. The answer to that is I'm not separate. Show me that I'm not separate, Lord. And you got to feel that. It's not words. You got to want that experience. You got to want the truth. I didn't know I was looking for God until I found God. I wouldn't have known how to even want it. It's like Jesus says in what Tyna just read, to ask for what you have already. He isn't really asking for anything. It's just an expression of a willingness to accept all things exactly as they are. Good. Any questions? Any answers? Thank you, Father.
Love you guys.
Did he go before he get it back? All right. Y'all stay as long as you want.
Hey.
Hey. Thank you.
Yeah. Stand with me.
It's good. It's really good.
Thank you.
Thank you. I love you.
I'll let you go. Thank you.
I'm good. Stay as long as you need. I'm good.
It dawned on me that, whenever they would say, look out into the world and see the people that you hate. And I'm like, I don't have people I hate. And then it dawned on me today that I've spent a whole lifetime hating myself. That is the one.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's time to choose differently.
Yeah, that's the only one you could ever hate anyway. If you think you see hate over there, it's not. It's been cleverly concealed from you, but it's put it right square where it needs to be, which is good news. So, yeah.
Incredible. Ah, I love you. Thank you.
I love you. Yeah. Thank you. Mm. 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 Then there was one. The way it began is the way that it ends. Mm.